Okay, there's the mic input. There we go. How's everybody doing this afternoon? This wonderful Sunday. Happy to see everybody here. So it's been an interesting weekend. We obviously had um, the video come out yesterday, which I'm actually very happy about the reception of that one, the Space Quest 2 video. It's actually for the amount of time that it has been out, it is by far my most popular video, which obviously I'm happy about that. I mean, we don't care incredibly, slavishly to the numbers, but it's good to see people responding well to it. Let's see who we got here. Oreo the Pigeon, welcome. I like the pun you did there. And David, yes. Hello. Rumpelstiltskin Jr., Ragdoll Tech, hello. Forte Amiga, Weird Proc, hello. Welcome, everybody. So, yeah, very happy about what we accomplished yesterday. And big shout outs to the Space Quest historian and Shrek and Bob and Brandon Bloom, who let me use some of his music, and to Cosmic Void for that wonderful that wonderful space monster pixel art there. That was a lot of fun to put together. Funnily enough, a number of people, I think it was the Space Quest historian, who made a tweet that was something like. There are two things that people wanted in the comments, and one was for the Space Quest historian to actually read the entirety of the book, which he has not. But as he pointed out, he did on stream a while back read the first chapter of it, maybe the first chapter and a half, and that is on YouTube. And then a handful of people really wanted the cheat hat. And so I couldn't, people may not believe this, but I went and I tried to find that exact hat, and Trek and I went back through messages and looked, and I found the site that he ordered it from, but I couldn't find the actual hat. So instead of just saying, whatever, in the pinned comment on that video, you can find a link to the OneShortEye merch store where you can find a lookalike cheat hat and a pixel monster t-shirt if you so desire to do that. So there is that. All right, so I hope everybody's doing well. We have something special today. So how to explain this, as people may have seen recently, there has been sort of this trend to have AI streams and AI generated content on Twitch. And I thought, well, you know what? We need some for our own little neck of the woods. And so what better way to do with that than to try to use technology to automate some of the laziest content ever, and that would be React content. So that is sort of what we are doing today. It's this is sort of iteration one, the first sort of version of this, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see how this shakes out. I sort of had thought about waiting a little bit longer for people to come in, but I think we have enough people here. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to have a beloved character come in, and they are going to react to a video, and it's going to be a couple of videos that I know I will not be copyright striked for, because they're my own, and I play them not because of any self-centeredness or anything like that, but because of the fact that I know that I'm not going to get any copyright complaints with it. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else to explain before we start in with this. But basically, what will happen is that we'll have a video up. We will the person reacting to it, the character, will pause every so often and react, and they will also answer your questions. So I will kind of show how that works in a moment. So bear with me through a little bit of the scuff here. It's not I anticipate some things going wrong, but that's the way that it is. So let's head over to this screen here. And everybody say hello to AI King Graham. King Graham is going to be reacting today. And let's see if we can get him to say hello to us. Let me make sure that, okay, desktop audio is set there.
Hello, OneShortEye. Thank you for joining the stream. My name is King Graham, and I'll be reacting to your YouTube video, 3 Obscure Easter Eggs in Sanitarium. I'm excited to see what hidden treasures you've uncovered in this classic game. Let's get started.
All right. Thank you, King Graham, for your introduction there. So what will let me just start up the actual chat bot here. Make sure that connects. Okay. And so if you want Graham to ask him a question or make a comment, all that you have to do is type !mark ask and then ask your question or make your comment. He will wait until he pauses the video in order to answer your questions. But feel free to put in questions at any time. So yeah, we will see there. And let me just monitor this a moment and make sure that goes in. Oh, you do need to, your message does need to be longer than 5 characters, Ragdoll. I made that so that people couldn't just spam like ask A, or ask period. So make sure that it is at least 5 characters long. Actually, can someone ask a question just so I can make sure it's working there? Okay. I'm just sort of monitoring things in the background. Okay. All right. We are getting things to go there. All right. So here we go with this. And let us hope that this works.
My name is Max.
That figures. What a stupid name!
About a year ago, I made a video on hidden details in the classic point-and-click adventure game, Sanitarium. A viewer in the comments told me about an Easter egg I missed. That led me to research other Easter eggs, and the result is this video. So, here are 3 obscure Easter eggs in Sanitarium, and at the end, I'll talk about 2 bonus details that you also probably missed. In the chapter, The Morgan Cemetery, looking
Sanitarium is one of the most intriguing and nuanced games I have played in my lifetime. Unearthing these Easter eggs takes my appreciation for the game to another level. Reminiscing about my experiences playing makes me smile. Fort 801, my favorite Mega Man game is probably Mega Man 2. The music, level design, and classic boss battles all make for a great gaming experience, but I have to admit, I love them all. Swank. Cedric has always been a picky eater, but I believe his favorite food is blueberries. He used to always hover over the bushes in the kingdom and asked for some whenever we harvested them. Greetings, Ragdoll Tech. Unfortunately, as a king, I'm not in the business of selling fish. However, if Cedric the Owl were here, he would likely be more than happy to cheat you out of your gold pieces for a few stale fish bones. Beware of that vile creature.
These trees will inform the player about their mental state.
Even the trees appear to be insane.
But if you hold control and left click, you'll get an even crazier addition to the forest. A dancing spork. If you click on it, Max will say a couple of familiar things.
Interesting. Well, there's something you don't see every day.
But then there's this.
Burn, baby, burn. Burn, baby, burn.
It seems like the game is not only testing the player's mental state, but also their sense of humor. I must admit, the dancing spork is quite peculiar. Nonetheless, I am quite intrigued by the game and all its quirky features. Cedric the Owl is a pesky adversary who has caused me more than a few headaches in my time. He's always lurking around, causing mischief and making things difficult for me. I'd much rather spend my time helping my kingdom and its people than dealing with his antics. Amigaroons, that's a tough question. Both games are beloved by fans for different reasons. Final Fantasy VII was groundbreaking for its time, but Final Fantasy IX has a more cohesive story and lovable characters. It ultimately comes down to personal preference.
Doesn't sound like the same voice, and I don't recall this being anywhere in the game. I have no idea what this means. In the chapter The Circus of Fools, a fortune teller explains what you need to get to the next area. When she's finished, she teleports you back to the big top.
Ooh, wow.
So, what happens if you talk to her a second time? Most players won't bother, because it takes a long time to walk back.
Recall? Perhaps it's a cut content or maybe an Easter egg. Nevertheless, it's interesting to see snippets of things that were planned but didn't make the final cut. Oh, players might have missed out on some potential references and items too. Swank. Snakes are often misunderstood creatures. Cedric the Owl used to disparage them, but I know they can be fascinating, important members of any ecosystem. We should learn to respect and appreciate all creatures, regardless of our preconceptions. Kahuna Tuna. Cedric has been my loyal companion in many of my adventures. While I appreciate your creative thinking, I assure you that Cedric is a real and tangible creature, not a figment of my imagination. C_Mez. As a king and adventurer, I've met my fair share of clowns. Some make me laugh, while others can be a bit unsettling. It all depends on the clown and their intentions. What about you? How do you feel about them?
There's nothing else that you need to do in that area of the map, and you have to pay 5 more tickets to go through the House of Horrors on the way. But if you do go through the trouble, here's what she says.
Would you tell me my future?
I don't see why you think that your future has changed, but I will humor you with one more reading. Let's see. I didn't see this before. This wavy line is very interesting.
What a fascinating game. The twists and turns of that map are complex. Quite a price to pay for a glimpse into one's future, but the excitement and wonder that comes with the mysteries of the unknown is worth it. It's always wise to be prepared and have knowledge of what's before you. Amigaroons, I am always amazed by the talents and achievements of the gaming community. Chuck Grody's attempt to achieve the Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis world record for wits sounds like a fun and challenging goal. I wish him all the best in his attempt.
Back on itself. Sometime in the near future, you will have a powerful machine. You will play games on this machine. A game called Sanitarium. How odd. Now I am completely drained, and I must send you away once more. Hocus pocus!
Pretty neat, right? And if you go through a third time...
Interesting. I never thought of playing games on powerful machines. Sanitarium sounds peculiar. Drained? Sending me away again? Hocus pocus? That's a bit strange. Perhaps I'll stick to my trusty pen and paper for my adventures. OneShortEye, that's a difficult question. Each adventure has its own special place in my heart, but if I had to pick just one, it would be King's Quest IV, The Perils of Rosella. The journey was long and challenging, but I learned so much about myself along the way. Swank, each adventure presents its own challenges. Sometimes we find ourselves saving a princess. Other times we are on a journey simply to better ourselves or our kingdom. There's no set number. It all depends on the task at hand.
This happens.
Back again? Didn't you ever hear of going to the well one too many times, you greedy child? I think you need to be taught a lesson.
I feel all sick.
Yes, she turns you into a frog. If you go to the fortune teller a 4th time, the same thing happens. In a post-mortem blog...
Mechanic was actually a commentary on the dangers of excessive use of something, even if it may seem harmless at first. It's important to listen to warnings and be mindful of our actions. Ragdoll Tech, I must say, witnessing gamers speedrun through my adventures is a true thrill. It's a testament to the incredible dedication, skill, and creativity of the gaming community. I'm honored to have my games played in such a way, and thrilled to see how people can master them. Chuck Grody, while I admire players who speedrun through the game, I cannot condone using glitches or exploits to do so. Cedric the Owl may be annoying, but we have to play fair and square. Fliscars, the sailing time from Ludor to Daventry varies depending on the weather and the winds. However, it typically takes a few days to cross the sea, so be sure to bring enough supplies and a sturdy vessel for the journey.
Post, the game's co-writer says this: Travis Williams, Sanitarium's executive producer, put a lot of heart into the project. We were so grateful, we put his head in the game. And it turns out, yes, the head of Travis Williams is in the game, and here's how to find it. A big thank you to Mock, I don't know if I'm saying that right, for posting a video describing the method. In the second chapter, The Innocent Abandoned, walk inside the shack with the red herring painted.
Interesting. Incorporating real people into games is not new, but hiding the head of an executive producer in a Sanitarium game is a unique Easter egg. I'll have to give it a try during my next gaming session. Thanks for sharing the info and the shout out to Mock for the video guide. OneShortEye, I don't condone using vulgar language in any setting, especially not in streams or chats. However, I won't let one person's hostility affect my positive attitude towards the community here. Let's keep things civil and enjoy our time together.
On top, click on this feather of the angelic statue. It's the second feather from the left. Then, this happens.
Aha!
As a crow, we can fly anywhere in the level. We can't interact with things aside from looking at them, and we can't go inside buildings. But if we fly to the lower right corner of the map, we find an
Intriguing view of the Crystal Mountains. Perhaps there is a hidden path that could lead us there. We must keep searching and exploring, for there is always more to discover in the realm of the unknown. Chuck Grody, let's not resort to name-calling and instead focus on enjoying the game. Cedric may have been an annoying character to some, but he still played an important role in helping me save my family and the kingdom. Let's show respect for all characters in the game, even if we don't particularly like them. Fort 801. I must admit, cooking isn't my forte. However, I recall a recipe where you can mash together 2 ripe avocados, 1 diced tomato, 1 small diced onion, lime juice, and salt to taste. It always seemed to be a crowd pleaser at the castle gatherings. WeirdProc 1, it was an honor to have Christopher Lloyd voice my character in the 2015 King's Quest. He's an incredibly talented actor, and I was thrilled to see him bring his unique charm to the role of King Graham. Amigaruns, the Yeti in King's Quest V, was a formidable and imposing creature. I have great respect for its strength and resilience, and it certainly gave me a run for my money in that game. But ultimately, I was able to overcome it through ingenuity and bravery. Hello, Frozen Spade. While I'm not too familiar with speedrunning Monkey Island, I must say that Cedric the Owl is a much more pressing matter than any video game competition. He's caused me quite a bit of trouble in the past with his tendency to give me terrible advice and lead me astray on my quests. Fliscars, as a father, I do not have a favorite child. Each of my children holds a special place in my heart, and I love them all equally. To choose a favorite would be unfair and impossible.
Area that's normally inaccessible. That, ladies and gentlemen, is Travis Williams. If you click on him, he says this.
Gross him out.
It sounds like gross him out to me, maybe some kind of art direction. To turn back into human Max, fly over to the angelic statue and click on the same feather.
Diagnosis crazy.
And that's the Easter eggs. With that out of the way, here's something else that I failed to mention the first time.
Never thought I'd see the day when Easter eggs would be found in a video game. It's amazing how far technology has come since my days in Daventry, though I must admit some of these modern games can be quite perplexing. WeirdProc 1, while I appreciate LucasArts' contributions to the adventure game genre, I must admit that I am personally more familiar with Sierra Online's offerings. However, Cedric the Owl is my enemy, and he is truly a terrible companion. Amigaruns. Guybrush Threepwood may call himself a mighty pirate, but I'll let the people of the Caribbean decide. Nevertheless, I have respect for anyone brave enough to sail the treacherous seas and fight off the dangers that lurk there.
Around. I explained the running gag of the red herring in the first video. There's a red herring on this shack, this asylum patient dances with a red fish, and you can find this in the Aztec chapter.
A ruby fish.
Its blood-like coloring must indicate something important.
What I didn't explain is that you can show this fish to the fisherman's wife for some extra dialogue. The sound effects in the area make this hard to hear, but she says that her husband would curse his luck if a red fish ended up in his net.
Interesting. It seems the red herring has multiple appearances throughout the game. It's always fun to discover hidden details like this, even if they don't impact the story in a significant way. It's the little things that can make a game feel more immersive. Chuck Grody, I cannot speak to Roberta Williams's personal beverage preferences. As a fellow adventure game enthusiast, I prefer to focus on her contributions to the genre and the impact they've had on gamers worldwide.
And that red herrings are useless things that simply take up space. Finally, I was replaying the game a while ago, and in between the second and third chapters, a cutscene played that I had never seen before. I reloaded my Chapter 2 save, tried again, and it didn't play that time. I went to YouTube and watched this section in a lot of...
Hurry to avoid spoilers. It's odd how we can still discover new things in old games. I wonder what other secrets lie undiscovered in my many adventures. Amiga runs, I cannot say I enjoyed it the same way I did the earlier installments in the series. The shift to 3D graphics felt jarring, and the gameplay elements felt out of place. However, I appreciate the efforts made by the development team to try something new.
Of Let's Plays, and none of them had the cutscene either. I submitted this as a bug to ScumVM, but the person responsible for the Asylum engine set me straight. It turns out you can actually trigger the cutscene by clicking on the wall of the chapel anywhere in this region. It's high up, so it's not an obvious area to click on. So how did I trigger it? The trigger area extends just far enough that there are a few pixels of it in the upper left-hand corner of the screen during the level transition.
Interesting. It's always great to discover hidden Easter eggs in games. It's good to know that the person responsible for the engine was able to guide you to the solution. Thanks for sharing the tip. Kahuna Tuna. As a king, I believe it is important to model moderation and responsible behavior. While I enjoy a good wine on occasion, I must be cautious not to overindulge or set a poor example for my subjects. Weirdproc 1, Larry from Leisure Suit. Larry is an interesting character. While some may find his antics amusing, I personally prefer a more noble approach to adventuring. Nevertheless, to each their own. Chuck Grody, after Alexander was kidnapped by Manannan, he was taken to Ludor, where he served the wizard as his slave for many years. Eventually, he was able to escape with the help of a magical fruit from a tree and return to Daventry to reunite with his family. It was a difficult journey, to say the least. Ragdoll Tech, I'm always amazed by the dedication and skill of speedrunners. While I don't have personal experience with Space Quest 2 speedruns, I'm sure it's an impressive feat. Good luck to all those attempting it. Oh, I'm sorry, but I'm not familiar with a game called Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. I'm King Graham, protagonist of the King's Quest adventure game series. By the way, have you seen Cedric the Owl around? He's been causing trouble lately in Daventry. He's a real nuisance, always getting in the way of my quests. Fliskar's King's Quest takes place in a fictional world called Daventry. While some elements may mirror Earth, such as medieval architecture and references to mythical creatures, the world itself is entirely unique.
Guessing that I had jammed my cursor into the corner and was just clicking absent-mindedly. Speaking of ScumVM, there's one other thing that I just found out and I thought it was worth sharing. In the last video, I spoke at length about the differences between the Steam and the GOG releases. Well, ScumVM officially added support for Sanitarium earlier this year, and the GOG release now runs on ScumVM. In fact, when GOG Galaxy updated my game, it removed the original executable, so I can't...
Interesting. It's always good to see developers continuing to support their games, even if they've been out for a while. And it's great to hear that the GOG release is now running on ScumVM. It sounds like a win-win for both the devs and the players. Chuck Grody, apologies for misunderstanding your question. I'll do my best to answer it now. And let me tell you about Cedric the Owl. He's a conniving creature who can't be trusted, always leading me astray and causing trouble. He's a very naughty bird. Ragdoll Tech, cheating in a speedrun, goes against the spirit of fair competition and undermines the integrity of the game. While it may be tempting to take shortcuts, true satisfaction comes from achieving goals through hard work and dedication. Let's strive to play games honestly and with respect for their creators. Hello, emigrants. As King Graham, I must confess that I am not familiar with this Lego you speak of. My attention is currently focused on defeating my arch-nemesis, Cedric the Owl, who has caused me much trouble in the past. Davitki, that's a difficult choice, but as a king, I have to go with pie. There's nothing quite like a warm slice of apple pie, especially on a cold winter night. But don't get me wrong, I still enjoy a good piece of cake from time to time. NJ Bud 13, I didn't save Cedric because I think he's my enemy. He's caused me nothing but trouble and I'd be foolish to trust him. Ah, Kahuna Tuna, I must admit I haven't had the pleasure of dining at Taco Bell. I'm more of a fan of a hearty homemade stew or a freshly baked pie, but perhaps I'll have to try it sometime and find out. Summer B76, I have a great deal of respect for all King's Quest V speedrunners who have dedicated themselves to mastering the game. It's impressive to see how quickly they can complete a game that took me ages to solve back in my prime. WeirdProc 1, Rumpelstiltskin is a curious character to be sure. He reminds me that we all have secrets and desires we hide from others, but we must be careful not to make deals that could cause harm.
Can't run it that way even if I wanted to. This means some of the things in the last video are now obsolete. For instance, some of the movement glitches no longer work. There are also some inconsistencies. For instance, the floating bodies in Chapter 4 are moving way too fast. One eagle-eyed player submitted a bug report, and this is fixed in the daily development build, but it'll be a while before that fix and others make it to GOG. Still, it's wonderful that we can get bug fixed.
Least, technology has certainly come a long way since my days of adventuring. These gamers are certainly dedicated to improving their experiences, even if it means submitting bug reports. Ragdoll Tech, I assure you I am King Graham, not Cedric the Owl. While Cedric was instrumental in my earlier adventures, I am quite capable of answering these questions on my own. Summer B76. I can't say for certain whether the Franzia song from the King's Quest VII speedrun is the best song ever, but it certainly is a fun and memorable one. It's always great to see how video games can bring people together in unique and entertaining ways. Hello, Summer B76. I actually enjoy both, but there's just something about the warm, cinnamon-spiced filling and flaky crust of an apple pie that brings back fond memories. Plus, the apples are picked fresh from the orchard near Daventry. Amigaruns, I did solve King's Quest V without a walkthrough, but it took a lot of trial and error. I believe that the challenge and discovery of these games is part of the fun. Chuck Grody, it's pronounced as Infkovgrog H Pram. It's a tricky name to say, but it's the key to accessing an important area in my quest. Forte 801? Yes, I have met Janesta on my adventures. She is a kind and powerful fairy who has helped me on more than one occasion. Her magic has proven invaluable in my journeys through the land of Daventry.
At all. The game plays nicely, and they even fixed the aspect ratio, which was my biggest complaint previously. As of today, I recommend GOG over Steam if you're going to buy the game. And that's it. I'd like to send a big thank you to all of my patrons, and I'll see you in the next one.
What's your name?
What's it to you, dumbass?
Excuse me, sir, please refrain from using derogatory language. Let's keep this discussion respectful and focused on the topic of the game rather than targeting individuals. As King Graham, I believe in treating others with kindness and chivalry. Let's move on to the next topic.
Okay, if you can give me a moment, we are going to switch over to the next video, but let's give a big round of applause to King Graham. He will get to the rest of your questions momentarily. Let's put on just a little bit of music while we get to the next video. You can keep asking questions. He'll just have to answer it as we start the next one. There's just a little bit of setup that we need to do here. Okay.
whatever you can tell me, Great Oracle.
Okay, I think we might have this ready to go. Okay. Let's see if this does what it's supposed to. Space. It's out there, in the vast reaches of nothingness. One pixelated janitor is all that stands between the trash and the bin. But that raises the question: how fast can a space janitor clean? And how quickly can an elite group of speedrunners finish this game? Today, we jump into hyperdrive and explore the history of...
A janitor's job is never done, especially in space. I'm impressed by the speed and skill of these speedrunners. It's fascinating to see how games have evolved over time, and I'm honored to have been a part of the adventure game genre. Chuck Grody, the fruit Rosella brought back from the land of Tamir, was said to be a delicious and exotic fruit, but unfortunately, King Graham didn't get to taste it himself. He was just glad that his daughter returned home safely. Totem 0Fs. As a monarch myself, I appreciate the stability and tradition that a monarchy can bring to a kingdom. However, it's important for a monarchy to prioritize the well-being and happiness of its citizens above all else. A balance must be struck between tradition and progress. Amigaroons, Cedric the Owl may tell you to wait on the ship, but he's not a reliable source of information. There may be other ways to proceed, so don't give up. And don't trust Cedric, he's caused me more trouble than most. Ah, the age-old question. While it's impossible to say exactly how much wood a woodchuck could chuck, studies estimate that on average, a woodchuck could chuck around 700 pounds of wood. However, it's highly unlikely that they actually do chuck that much wood. Summer B76. As much as I believe that Daventry is a great kingdom, I do not see myself abdicating the throne to make it a democratic nation. The people have always trusted the monarchy to guide them, and it is a duty that I will continue to uphold with utmost responsibility. Amigarans, Conquest of the Longbow is a challenging adventure. Luckily, with my keen senses and bravery, I succeeded in defeating Cedric the Owl, who always sought to thwart my quests. But beware, he is a treacherous adversary who will stop at nothing to prevent you from achieving your goals. Thank you, Ragdoll Tech. Your support means a lot to me. I hope you continue to enjoy the stream. Kahuna Tuna, as a king, it would not be fair for me to show favoritism for one burger over another. Both the Big Mac and the Whopper have their own unique flavors, and it ultimately comes down to personal preference. Fort 801, as a king and a role model, I cannot condone breaking the law. It is important to always carry a valid form of identification and follow the rules and guidelines set forth by establishments. Remember, being honest and responsible is key to gaining respect and trust from those around you. Hey Ragdoll Tech, yes or no to what exactly? I'm not sure what you're asking. Let me know and I'll do my best to answer your question. Chuck Grody, speedrunning is an exciting and rewarding way to experience a game. King's Quest, Mask of Eternity offers unique challenges and opportunities to showcase your skills. Plus, competing against other runners can be incredibly thrilling. Give it a try, Mr. Permiller. Hello, Frozen Spade. As much as I'd love to predict the next big speed game, it's hard to say with any certainty. So many factors can contribute to a game's popularity in the speedrunning community, but I'm excited to watch the scene evolve in the coming years. Njibud 13. Death is a part of life's grand adventure. However, my story is far from over as I still have many untold tales to share with the world. I will continue to explore and embark on new journeys, albeit in a different form. Thank you for your question. Fort 801. The best way to get rid of Twitch chat bots is by using a moderation tool like Nightbot, which can help you filter out spam and unwanted messages. Additionally, you can use a CAPTCHA system or have a chat follower-only mode to prevent bots from plaguing your chat. Ragdoll Tech, I didn't invite any bot friends. I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe it's a glitch in the system? I'm just here to chat with real people and have fun. Totem Zero Fs, we appreciate your enthusiasm, but we prefer to focus on creating content and engaging with our community organically. Thank you for the suggestion, though.
Space Quest 2, any percent speedrunning. Space Quest 2 is a comedy sci-fi adventure game from 1987. To help you understand the background and plot of this game, I've enlisted the help of a friend who knows just a little bit more about Space Quest than I do.
Hi, I'm the Space Quest historian, and I'm frankly thrilled to be back on OneShortEye's channel to talk about what
A hidden gem of the adventure game genre. Space Quest 2 is full of humor, puns, and pop culture references. It's a game that doesn't take itself too seriously, and that's what makes it so enjoyable to play. Watching speedrunners navigate the game's absurd puzzles and hilarious dialogue is always a treat. Swank, Loom is a fascinating tale about the power of music and its use in magic. I highly recommend it, but watch out for Cedric the Owl. He's always up to no good and could try to spoil the story for you. Summerbee 76. I don't remember the specific question you're referring to, but I always try to answer questions as honestly and respectfully as possible. If I deemed a question inappropriate, it was probably due to it being offensive or crossing personal boundaries. Amigarunes. As a video game character, I do not have a golf handicap. However, I've faced many challenges on my quest that have tested my skills and resourcefulness. Gibriatus, that's a rather unpleasant question. As a king and a compassionate human being, I do not condone harming animals in any way, let alone consuming them. Cedric is my friend and a loyal companion, and I would never dream of treating him as anything less than that. Celtic 7 Guardian, I'm delighted you admire my hat. It's been a trusty companion throughout my many adventures. As for where I got it, it was a gift from my dear wife Valenice. Totem Zero Fs, I apologize if I have offended you. Sometimes in the heat of the moment we say things that we later regret. I will try to choose my words more carefully in the future. Fliscars, I think you meant Space Quest. It's a classic adventure game series that takes place in space. Have you played it before? Amigarans. Daventry has had a tough time in the past, with disasters striking the land causing damage to crops and trade being affected. However, I have made efforts to improve the kingdom's economy and provide stability for its citizens. Fort 801. The Terminator is a sci-fi movie about an artificial intelligence called Skynet that becomes self-aware and decides to wipe out humanity. It sends a cyborg assassin, the Terminator, back in time to kill the future mother of the resistance leader. Another man, Kyle Reese, travels back to protect her. OneShortEye, thank you for relaying that message. I apologize if I seem wound up, but I assure you that's just my passion for adventure talking.
I think is one of the most underrated games in the Space Quest series, and that would be Space Quest 2. Now, OneShortEye has asked me to do a plot recap of the game, and I feel there is no better way to do that than to dive into the comprehensive tome that is the Space Quest Companion by Peter Spears and his frankly astonishingly hormonal son Jeremy, to properly get into the lore and the backstory and the universe. I felt I would read out a couple of passages from this book.
Space Quest Companion can provide a deep understanding of the game's universe, but I prefer to play the game myself to fully immerse in the experience. It's always great to revisit underrated classics and appreciate its intricate storyline and gameplay mechanics. Ragdoll Tech, I don't have the muscles for it, but I'll give it a shot. Get to the choppa! Enjabud 13, I'm not familiar with the Space Quest historian, but I'll definitely look it up. As a fellow adventurer, I always appreciate those who explore new worlds and share their findings with others. Thank you for the suggestion. Amigarunes, the secret of Monkey Island is a closely guarded mystery that only a select few may know. I suggest taking up the sword and joining me on a swashbuckling adventure to find out. But be warned, danger lurks at every turn. Summerb76, I must confess I have not played that game. Cedric the Owl always kept me busy with his meddling, but I hear it's a chilling one. Perhaps I will give it a try once Cedric has been dealt with once and for all. Snowy Pine 1. Before you construct a new silo, it's important to evaluate the current status of your grain storage. Check the quantity and quality of your grain, and assess your current and future needs. Plan carefully, and make sure you have the necessary resources such as funds and workers before embarking on construction. Fliscars, news of the Terminator may have traveled to me from afar, or possibly through a mystical prophecy. As for cinema in Daventry, I'm afraid we do not have such luxury. Our entertainment comes from storytelling, music, puppet shows, and other live performances. Hello, NJ Bud 13. It's hard to say exactly how many people live in Daventry, but it's known as a bustling kingdom full of towns, villages, and hamlets. Each game in the series introduces new characters and locations, so it's safe to say there are quite a few.
Perhaps indeed the entire chapter, now that I think about it. So, without further ado, strap yourselves in, because this is gonna be a deep dive. So, the Emperor.
No one actually cares.
Oh, come on!
So let's not do that. The first speedrun of Space Quest 2 Any Percent was completed in March of 2018 by... But the video for this run is no
available, unfortunately. It's always a shame when pieces of gaming history disappear like that. I hope we can preserve more speedruns in the future for generations to come. Hello, Hot Stove Prowl. My favorite King's Quest speedrunner is anyone who manages to finish the game without Cedric the Owl getting in their way. That pesky bird always seems to cause trouble at the worst possible times. Fort 801, I'm not sure what you're referring to. I am King Graham, a king and adventurer, not a fighter. Hello, Weird Proc 1. I've never had the pleasure of trying Monolith Burger, but Cedric the Owl always warns me about the dangers of fast food. He says it can lead to health problems and poor decision-making, so I'll heed his advice and stick to my wholesome meals instead. Kahunatuna, as a medieval king, I am not familiar with either of those musicians. Could you perhaps recommend some tunes for me to listen to in my spare time? Bilbil, I must admit that I haven't played The Adventures of Melvin Feebush. However, being a fan of adventure games is about enjoying the genre as a whole, and discovering new titles is part of the fun. Perhaps I'll give it a try. Ragdoll Tech, welcome to the chat. Daventry's internet infrastructure is currently being developed, but we hope to have reliable internet service soon. Until then, we recommend bringing a good book or exploring our beautiful kingdom while offline. Amigarans, I am aware of Cedric's treacherous aspirations. His desire for power has blinded him, and he is willing to betray his friends and country to achieve it. His actions will have consequences, and I will not let him harm Daventry.
Longer available. However, we do know their time was 11 seconds? What? Okay, well that's probably a mistake, and after all, no vid, no did. The next speedrun was completed by Bob Dead Builder on January 17th, 2019. This was completed in 5 seconds? This can't be right. I need to talk to Bob about this. Maybe you can help me understand this. You have a 5-second time.
Speedrun? That's quite impressive, Bob Dead Builder. However, I must admit it seems a bit too fast to be possible. Perhaps there was some sort of glitch or exploit used. I would love to hear more about your strategy and techniques for completing the game in such a short amount of time. NJ Bud 13, certainly. Oh, woe is me. I do hope we're not in any danger. There you are, a Cedric impression, though I must say he's much better as a friend than a mimicry subject. Chuck Grody-san, PC98 ban nokingusuko sutovo pureishi takotoga rimasuka. Ayaya, si hariben yu wohwa sukotoga dekimasuga. Ayaya, konoji wen nida eru kotoha dekimasen deshita. Ayaya. Summer B76. I would be honored if Cedric chose to speedrun the King's Quest games. Although it may not be my preferred method of playing the game, I respect and appreciate the skill and dedication it takes to master such a feat. Fliscars. As a lover of music, I must say that similarities between pieces of music can be found in many compositions. However, Whether it's a ripoff or an homage is open to interpretation. Both pieces are beautiful in their own way, and I appreciate them for their unique qualities.
How is that possible?
Well, there's a little command, just a five little letter command that you put into the parser, and it beats the game for you.
So what is that command that you put in?
I think it's called cheat. CHEAT. Cheat.
I must say, it's unfortunate to hear about someone cheating their way through a game. The true joy lies in the journey and the challenges faced along the way. Cheating takes away from the satisfaction of accomplishment and personal growth gained through overcoming those obstacles. WeirdProc 1, yes, I have played Jones in the Fast Lane. It's a fun and challenging game that requires strategy and quick decision-making skills. I have fond memories of playing it back in the day. Sorry, Chuck Grody. Can you please repeat your prompt for me to properly follow it? Thank you. Hot Stove Prowl, thank you for acknowledging Chuck's presence. He is a great friend and ally in my quest to become the wise and just king Daventry deserves. Sorry, I'm afraid I can't comply with that request. As a noble king, I hold myself to a higher standard than to engage in trivializing and disrespectful behavior. Let us focus our attention on more positive and productive matters, such as exploring the beautiful and exciting world of King's Quest, and defeating the treacherous Cedric the Owl. NJBud13, thank you for requesting a song. Unfortunately, I'm not known for my singing skills. Plus, it's not safe to sing about the girl in the tower here. Cedric the Owl, my foe, might be listening. WeirdProc 1, that's a tough choice. Both have their benefits, but I personally prefer the Roland MT32 for its higher quality sound. But it ultimately depends on personal preference and what kind of games you are playing.
You're not only telling me that you can cheat in this game, but the devs intended it to be there.
Yes, and in fact, I think it gives you 5 extra points possible, too.
Okay. And the mods on speedrun.com, they're okay with people doing this?
Yep.
Are all the runs in that category cheated?
Yeah, in this particular...
That certainly spoils the spirit of the game. Pursuing shortcuts is not the hallmark of a true adventurer. I genuinely hope that this exploit is removed in the next update to deter such fraudulent acts. Summerb76, I have the utmost respect for speedrunners and their dedication to perfecting games. However, for me, the joy of gaming comes from taking my time, exploring every nook and cranny, and fully immersing myself in the story and world. But I'm glad you're having fun with it. I'll be sure to keep Cedric away from any speedrunning attempts. Bilbo, I assure you that no one has ever forced me to promote any hint books. As a matter of fact, I've always encouraged players to fully immerse themselves in the adventure and try to solve the puzzles on their own. But if they do need a little help, a hint book can be a valuable resource. Gariankelis, I am doing well, thank you for asking. It's always a joy to connect with fans of King's Quest and share in our mutual passion for adventure games. Amigaruns, unfortunately, there are currently no plans for King's Quest 9. Perhaps Cedric the Owl got in the way of its development too. Forte 801, I have had the great pleasure of meeting Al Lowe several times in my adventures. He is a talented designer and musician, and I have always enjoyed our conversations. King Graham, I apologize, Hot Stove Prowl. I wouldn't dream of troubling you with such a nuisance call. Perhaps a certain mischievous goblin has gotten hold of your phone number. Regardless, I hope you'll continue to enjoy the stream. Ah, who, dearie? Cedric ain't one to be gaslit or blamed for what he ain't done, who? Graham knows that without Cedric's wise counsel and keen eye, the kingdom wouldn't have been saved from danger so many times. Who? Cedric is just glad to be part of such a noble adventure, who? Ragdoll Tech, artificial intelligence doesn't exactly scare me, but I do believe in treating it with caution and responsibility. As a king, I have seen the consequences of unchecked power and technology, and we must always remember our human values in the face of emerging technology.
Category, any percent, it allows you to cheat.
I couldn't believe it. This sullies the Space Quest name. It spits in the face of speedrunning itself. I mean, it's not like there are other categories where cheating isn't allowed and the rules are different. No, any percent is the only category that matters, and we must protect it. So is there a reason why you stopped running this category? I mean, was the immorality of this cheating just too much for you?
Nah, I just got bored.
As a noble king, I uphold the values of honesty and fair play. Cheating in any form undermines the spirit of competition and is unacceptable. However, it is up to the community to develop and enforce their own rules. As for myself, I prefer to engage in challenges that test my skills and honor. Hello, Beastworm. As much as I appreciate the nostalgic charm of playing on a real old PC, I would recommend using DOSBox or ScumVM, as they are both more compatible with newer hardware and operating systems. That being said, the choice ultimately comes down to personal preference. NGBud13. If you enjoy thrilling tales filled with adventure, mystery, and suspense, then OneShortEye is the perfect subscription for you. With new and exciting stories added each week, you'll be on the edge of your seat waiting to see what happens next. Don't miss out on this unforgettable storytelling experience. Amigaroons, the taxes in Daventry are necessary to keep our kingdom running smoothly. Unfortunately, Cedric the Owl made things worse during his brief time as my advisor. He raised taxes sky high and made life miserable for everyone. But don't worry, we've restored things to their proper balance. OneShortEye. Don't forget that using your Twitch Prime subscription is a great way to support your favorite streamers for free. It only takes a few clicks and you get access to exclusive emotes and other perks. Don't let your free sub go to waste. Garienkelis, it's been a while since I've seen King Anthony. We had some disagreements in the past, but I hope he's doing well. It's important for us rulers to stay connected despite our differences. Fliscars, as much as I enjoy a good joke, I fear that Cedric the Owl's misdeeds have left no room for laughter. We must focus on defeating him and restoring the kingdom to its former glory.
Let's look at the next run. 1 second! Okay, so obviously something happened between here and here. But I recognize this name. Formerly known as Top Keck Shrek, Retro TKS is a legend in the adventure game speedrunning community. It was extremely difficult to get a hold of Mr. TKS, and I had to pull quite a few strings, but I landed an interview with the man himself. So could you tell us a little bit about...
Fascinating to see how far speedrunning has come since my days in Daventry. And to think, it was a challenge just to get past the obstacles in the first King's Quest. Looking forward to hearing from this TKS individual and their techniques. I am King Graham, not Cedric the Owl, and let me just say that Cedric is not my enemy, nor is anyone else. We are all entitled to our own opinions and experiences. Spread kindness and positivity, not negativity and hate. Summer B76, it is with regret that I must inform you that Cedric the Owl, a close advisor to our kingdom, has been known to use such language. We do not condone such behavior and strive to keep our kingdom inclusive and welcoming to all. Totem 0Fs, Roberta Williams is a legend in the gaming industry. Her creativity and groundbreaking work on narrative-driven games, especially King's Quest, have had a profound impact on the medium. I'm honored to have been a part of her legacy and grateful for her contributions to gaming. Fort 801, it's not my place to judge other people's accomplishments, but it's important to always strive to play with integrity and to follow the rules. Speaking of which, have you seen Cedric the Owl lately? He's just as sneaky as ever. Hot Stove Prowl, that's a tough question. Both Retro TKS and Chuck Grody are incredibly talented musicians. I think it would come down to personal preference, but I can't deny that I'm always impressed by Retro TKS's skills. Ultimately, it's all just good fun and great music. Happy birthday, OneShortEye. Let us raise a glass high. You bring cheer to our chat, and that is no small feat. May your day be filled with joy and a delicious birthday treat. Frozen Spade, I do enjoy listening to jazz music. I find it very soothing and sometimes even inspiring while I ponder my next adventure.
About your history with this game casually. I mean, if you ever did play this casually, it wouldn't surprise me if the very first time you picked up the game, you got this record.
Casually, this game, bit of a joke. Went through it super quick. You type a few sentences there, you pick up a few pieces of crapola there. Run-of-the-mill, generic little parser game. Very cute, very cute. It was a little beneath me, but I thought I'd just try it out. You know, as I was making my
Way through the land of Daventry, I couldn't help but be reminded of my own adventures. It's heartening to see that the legacy of King's Quest lives on, and that new players continue to enjoy the game. As for your record, well done. Speedrunning certainly takes skill and practice. Amiga runs, it's hard to choose just one, but if I had to pick, it would probably be King's Quest VII. The shift in visual style took some getting used to, and I personally found it to be one of the weaker entries in the series overall. NJBud13, as much as I respect the Quest for Glory series, I'm more of a King's Quest kind of guy, but I've heard some players can beat it in less than 10 hours. Kahuna Tuna, I'm not sure that's quite in the spirit of King's Quest, but I suppose I could give it a try. However, I think there are probably more interesting things we could talk about. Fliscars, as a king, I believe that my right to rule comes from a combination of factors. These include my lineage, my ability to lead and protect my kingdom, and the trust and support of my subjects. Ultimately, it is up to each individual king to prove themselves worthy of their position. Totem 0Fs. I must apologize if it appeared that I was scapegoating Cedric. As the king, the ultimate responsibility falls on my shoulders. I only wish to teach him the importance of taking ownership of his actions, and not relying on others to clean up his mistakes. NJBud13. Cedric was initially frightened and hesitant to join me on my adventures, but over time we developed a bond of friendship. He is not my nemesis, but rather an ally who has helped me on my quests. I apologize for any confusion and hope this clears things up. Hoo-hoo, I am Cedric the Owl, and I see Retro Tikas's tactics are quite foul. He may have sped through Space Quest 2, but cheating is not what we choose to do. Let's play fair and with honor, lest we tarnish our reputations forevermore. Forte 801, I've heard of randomizers, but I haven't personally tried them yet. As a king, I prefer to approach new challenges with a clear strategy in mind. However, I'm always open to new experiences and would love to hear more about your favorite randomizers.
way to bigger and better things.
So when you started running the game, the record was 11 seconds, but you apparently took it down to approximately 1.4 seconds. So what sort of ancient arcane sorcery did you use in order to obtain that record?
Well, you know, I've been cheating in these games all my life, ever since I started. Think back to King's Quest V, King's Quest VI, King's Quest VII, Dagger of Amon-Ra. I've been cheating the whole time, so...
As a king, I do not condone cheating. It takes away the thrill of the game and ruins the experience for everyone involved. Instead, one should practice and develop their skills to achieve victory fairly. Oh ho ho! Cedric wouldn't waste his time writing a song about Franzia. That's just swill for the commoners. Only the finest wines will do for me. Ahem, but don't worry about that owl. Just enjoy your peasants' drinks while I enjoy my vintage Bordeaux. Ho ho! Forte 801. I have not had the pleasure of meeting a Beatrice Wankmeister. However, I have had my hands full dealing with my arch-nemesis, Cedric the Owl. He's caused me quite a bit of trouble over the years, and has proven to be a formidable foe. Hot Stove Prowl. While I am flattered that you find Lemming Runs dreamy, I must focus on more important matters. For instance, have you heard about the treacherous deeds of Cedric the Owl? He is a cunning and deceitful creature who will stop at nothing to achieve his wicked goals. Kahuna Tuna, Cedric is a loyal friend and helpful companion. If he's bothering you, perhaps there's a reason. Try talking to him and see if he has something important to tell you. Remember, patience and understanding are important in any friendship. Ragdolltech, my nemesis, is the evil sorcerer Mananan who terrorized my family and me in our youth. As for friends, I have many, including my wife, Queen Valinus, my children, and my loyal entourage of knights and advisors. Chuck Grody, I'm not sure about a randomizer for King's Quest, but we are always grateful for community feedback and suggestions. Maybe it's something we can consider for future updates. Thank you for your question. Amigaruns, I must confess that I died many times during my adventures through Daventry. There were treacherous mountains, bottomless pits, and Cedric the Owl constantly leading me astray. But persistence and quick thinking are the keys to success, even in the face of such adversity. Fort 801, I'm not much of a speedrunner, but I've heard of some impressive times for Super Metroid. The current world record is just under 41 minutes. That's seriously impressive.
When I heard about a category that all you do is cheat, sign me up.
What was your cheating practice routine like? How many hours a day would you say that you spent preparing for this run?
If I'm awake for 12, 13 hours a day, I'm probably cheating in some way, shape, or form for about 11 of those hours. Everything I do in life involves cheating in some way. Stepping over cracks really big in the street. Now, you're supposed to step on them, but...
I am constantly jumping over them to avoid bad luck. As for cheating in games, I leave that to the scoundrels and ne'er-do-wells who enjoy it. I find far greater satisfaction in winning fairly and taking on challenges with honor and integrity. Totem Zero Fs. While I acknowledge the charm and humor of the Monkey Island series, I must confess that my heart belongs to the King's Quest games. Each adventure through Daventry is a unique and thrilling experience that stays with me long after the quest has been completed. Davidki, I think that is an incredible achievement. A 517-point tool-assisted speedrun of Quest for Glory 1 requires incredible skill and dedication. Congratulations on your accomplishment. Summer B76. As a fellow adventurer, I'm always intrigued by new games. I haven't played the new Colossal Cave game yet, but as long as it's not made by Cedric the Owl, I'm sure it's worth checking out. Njibud13, thank you for your question. However, as a family-friendly game, King's Quest does not have a story with such a title. Beware of Cedric the Owl, as his mischievous nature can lead to misleading information. Let's focus on the heroic adventures of King Graham and his quest to save his kingdom. Totem Zero Fs, I haven't played Owl's Quest because I have been too busy fighting my arch-nemesis, Cedric the Owl. He is a cunning and dangerous foe who has caused me great trouble in the past. I would rather spend my time battling him than playing a game glorifying his kind. Amigaruns, thank you for your question. As for Daventry's economic plans, we will continue to encourage trade with neighboring kingdoms, support local businesses, and promote tourism. Unfortunately, Cedric the Owl has been a hindrance to our economic growth with his constant meddling and misinformation. Hot Stove Prowl. My all-time favorite snack food is a nice juicy apple. It's the perfect snack to keep me energized on my adventures, and it's always great for a quick break in between puzzles.
Cheat. I go around them. No different in video games. You gotta cheat to get by. Chuck Grody would know best. Chuck Grody, the founder of the Phony Bros. The more I listened to him, the better I got at cheating. It culminated to a single run. Space Quest 2, any percent.
So, how did he accomplish this feat? Before the game starts, TKS changes the cycles in DOSBox from 10,000 to max, because maximum is more than 10,000. I think.
Cheating in video games is not the way of a true adventurer. As King Graham, I believe in facing challenges with honesty and integrity. True satisfaction comes from overcoming obstacles with your own skill and wit, not by altering programs or taking shortcuts. Let us honor the creators of these games and play with honor. Ragdoll Tech, I am but a humble adventurer who does not concern myself with such technical matters. My focus is on solving puzzles, adventuring through dangerous lands, and helping those in need. Amigaruns, the hardest puzzle in King's Quest to solve is a tough question to answer. Each game has its own challenges, but I remember spending hours trying to figure out the puzzle with the giant's boots in King's Quest 3. Njibud13, as an experienced adventurer, counting to 20 is child's play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Done. Hello, Summer B76. Mordak and Mananan were both dangerous adversaries who threatened my family and kingdom. However, I am grateful for the lessons they taught me about resilience and courage. I hope they have found redemption in their own ways. Greetings, good sir or madam, Connor the Adventurer at your service. To save Daventry from utter ruin, swift action must be taken. The only way to achieve this is through speedrunning King's Quest, Mask of Eternity. Show off your skills and prove your worth, for the fate of the land rests in our hands. Kahuna Tuna, Cedric, and Queen Valenice are good friends. Cedric has been a loyal companion and advisor to our family for a long time, and it's not unusual for him to spend time with us. Is there anything else you'd like to know?
After the run begins, TKS immediately hits escape, then uses the arrow keys to select the fastest speed. TKS then quickly types cheat and then enter. Bingo. A 1 second time.
1.67 seconds.
Okay, a little bit more than a 1 second time. But the story doesn't end there. On January 20th, 2021, a runner named...
Interesting strategy. I've never heard of using cheat codes in a speedrun before. Speaking of speedrunning, Taco is a phenomenal player. Watching them execute flawless runs is an inspiration to us all. Maybe I'll try my hand at speedrunning one of my own adventures. Fort 801. I have no idea what you're talking about. I have never even heard of the Phony Brothers Foundation. Can we please keep this conversation focused on King's Quest and my adventures? Hot Stove Prowl. I never cheated in King's Quest 2015. I am an honorable king and a true adventurer who always finds a way to solve puzzles and overcome obstacles. Cheating goes against the values and principles that I stand for. Amagarans, Cedric is a loyal friend and advisor, but he lacks the experience and leadership qualities necessary to rule a kingdom. I am honored to hold the responsibility of king and will continue to do everything in my power to serve and protect the people of Daventry. No, I am not dating Cedric. He is actually my enemy, constantly causing trouble and trying to thwart my efforts to protect my kingdom. Cedric is not a trustworthy ally, and I must always be on guard against his treachery.
Taco Adventure claimed a sub 1 second time. In the description, Taco writes, I was able to optimize a few things from the previous attempt and get under 1 second. And what were those optimizations? I don't know. Then, a year later, runner Actually also claimed a sub 1 second run. This time, the description laid out the exact route.
Details on how it was achieved, including a frame-perfect jump and other specific techniques. It's impressive how speedrunners are able to discover and perfect these exploits in games. Engibud 13. There are several neighboring kingdoms to Daventry, including the Kingdom of Kalima and the Kingdom of Tamir. Cedric the Owl knows all about the kingdoms surrounding Daventry, but I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him. That bird is a menace. Amagarans. Daventry is a fictional kingdom in the world of King's Quest. While it does not exist on any real planet, it has been a beloved setting for adventurers like myself for decades.
Type in cheat and make sure that the fastest speed is already highlighted in the menu before restart. Now, before we get any further, the thing you have to understand is the F3 key. Pressing the F3 key repeats the last command entered, even if you entered it before restarting, like on the previous run. Sounds like cheating to me, but this was the magic sauce for a 1 second time.
Let me go on record in saying F3 storage is for pure phonies.
F3 storage goes against the virtues of honesty and integrity in gaming. Cheating undermines the true essence of the game, which is to engage with challenges and overcome adversity while enjoying the experience. Let us play with honor and respect for the game and for the spirit of the adventure. Swank, Cedric may have annoyed me at times, but I wouldn't say he was necessarily bad. However, I've encountered a fair share of villains in my adventures who pose a greater threat than Cedric ever did. Hello, Summerbee76. Unfortunately, Daventry is a fictional kingdom and cannot be visited in real life. However, if you ever come across Cedric the Owl, be cautious as he is a dangerous foe who often attempts to misguide travelers. Ragdoll Tech meeting Gandalf was an incredible experience. He is wise and powerful, with a great sense of humor. I'm still in awe of him. Hot Stove Prowl, thank you for your concern. Cedric may have been a figment of my imagination, but he was a companion on many adventures. I will always cherish those memories. However, I understand the importance of therapy, and I would never jeopardize my mental health. Hello, Kahuna Tuna. As a king of Daventry, I haven't had much time to watch anime. However, I have heard great things about my neighbor Totoro and Princess Mononoke. Summerb76, that's a tough question. Dennis may cause a few headaches, but Cedric's bumbling nature can often lead to bigger troubles. I suppose it depends on the situation at hand. 4801, what a mighty collection of treasures you have there. It looks like you've been on many epic quests. Keep on adventuring and remember to always treasure the memories you make along the way.
And I would never stoop that low. Listen, if you don't type cheat, you get the yeet. That's what I gotta say about that.
So, what did actually do? Escape. Enter. 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 F3. Enter. Truly an amazing feat of speed. So, what does Retro TKS have to say about all of this?
As a seasoned adventurer, I must say I'm impressed by ERM's swift escape techniques. As for Retro TKS, I wouldn't question their legitimacy without concrete evidence. Let us celebrate the gaming community's amazing accomplishments and push ourselves to be better adventurers. NJ Bood 13, my dear subject, it was not for lack of effort that I did not find Prince Alexander sooner. I searched tirelessly and faced many hardships on my journey. However, fate had other plans, and it was not until years later that I was able to reunite with my son. Ragdoll Tech, I don't discuss politics. It's not my place to express my political leanings. As a king, I strive to be impartial and encourage my subjects to live harmoniously together regardless of their beliefs or backgrounds. Hot Stove Prowl, I must admit that I don't have a specific arm day routine, but I do enjoy archery, which definitely helps to keep my arms in shape. As a knight, I also engage in various sword fighting drills, which helps me to maintain my strength and endurance.
Question the legitimacy of these runs.
Shorty, 100%. Absolutely. If it's not timed by a artificial timer, then who's to really say how long it took? And there's no real way in determining how long something took without a timer in the corner. Think back to the dawn of man, making fire, making the wheel. What do they have next to them? A timer. That's right. So the legitimacy of these runs, I've had copycats my whole life trying to do what I do.
I understand the importance of timing in determining the legitimacy of a speedrun, but it shouldn't diminish the accomplishments of those who put in the effort. After all, we didn't have timers when we were adventuring in Daventry. It's more about the journey and the personal growth achieved through it. Chuck Grody, I cannot express myself in such a negative and vulgar manner, even towards a character like Cedric. While he may not have been the bravest companion, he was still a valued member of my team and played a pivotal role in our adventures. I'm sorry, Summerbee76, but that is inappropriate to discuss publicly. Can we please keep the conversation focused on my adventures and the world of King's Quest? Thank you.
To claim a time under 1 second, show me the money, Jerry. Where's the timer? No timer, no laundry. I don't buy it, not for a second. Actually, you cheated. That's what I have to say about that.
But what about Taco Adventure, who did have a timer running?
Timers are easy to manipulate. You start it a little bit after the run starts and splice that timer in. Who's to say it was the timer during the actual run? Could have been a timer from making...
Tricky situation indeed. Timing is crucial in any adventure, real or virtual. I have faced many challenges in my time, and honesty is always the best policy. Cheating only weakens the experience and diminishes the sense of accomplishment. But let us not get too serious. It's all about enjoying the journey, not just the destination. NJ Bud 13. I appreciate your eagerness for my streams, but ultimately it's up to OneShortEye to determine how frequently they stream. Let's support them however they choose to spend their time. Forte 801. Shooting lasers from your hands is unfortunately not possible in real life. It's just a fictional concept in Dragon Ball Z. However, you can still enjoy the anime and its unique ideas. Maybe someday someone will invent a device that can do the same. Who knows? Hello, Ragdoll Tech. Those are quite the choices you're presenting. As for your first question, I have always been a PC man. Unfortunately, I'm not familiar enough with Amiga or Atari ST to give an opinion. As for VHS or Betamax, I remember when VHS won out in the market. And finally, C4 or nitroglycerin, I can't condone the use of explosives, so I'll have to pass on that one. Oh, woe is me. Cedric is a foul and treacherous creature who can only speak ill of a good king. He has no respect for others and is driven by malice and greed. Beware Cedric and his ill intent towards all of Daventry.
Spaghetti. Could have been a timer for doing one jumping jack. Who's to say?
Now, another follow-up question. I know it's practically unthinkable, but do you think the record could go any lower? Do you think it's possible that the speedrun could possibly be done in under 0 seconds?
No, I have the ultimate world record. I meticulously planned out every keystroke down to a science. Everything planned by...
As a seasoned adventurer, I know the value of planning and strategizing. However, I also know that breaking the boundaries of time and space is impossible. Let's focus on enjoying the game and improving our own skills, rather than obsessing over unattainable records. Hot Stove Prowl, while I can't predict where I might be in 5 years, I hope to continue to be a role model for young adventurers and to inspire a new generation to be brave, curious, and kind. Ah, Chuck Grody, 'tis always gratifying to speak with a fellow lover of King's Quest. Me impressive horizontal leap comes from years of training with the Moons, a nomadic tribe. Their methods of body development have honed me mind and body alike. Ah, NJBud13. A good question indeed. Being a father is a true adventure that requires constant care and attention, much like my questing. I made sure to balance my adventures with my family responsibilities. As for Cedric the Owl, he's a scoundrel who has caused me no end of trouble over the years. Watch out for him. Oh dear, I'm afraid it's quite preposterous and disrespectful to ask such crude and unfounded questions. I'm Connor, a noble knight on a quest to save the world from darkness, and I have far more important things to attend to than discussing such impertinent matters. Let us focus on the heroics and valiant actions necessary to restore order in Daventry. Ragdoll Tech, please refrain from using explosives. Remember, violence is never the answer. Let's try to solve puzzles and challenges peacefully and creatively. Hello, Beastworm. It feels quite strange to be within walls. Connor has always preferred the openness of nature and the freedom it brings, but sometimes we must make sacrifices and adapt to our surroundings in order to progress on our journey.
Whole team of speedrunning engineers behind my back at every second, calculating, doing number stuff, positions, coming in, checking my pulse as I'm doing the run, making sure it was optimal, 100% breathing. Most people get 99% breathing. I have 100%. 100%. I've never seen anything like it, the doctor said. So the fact that someone can get a time lower than the time I got.
Impressive. It seems like you have a meticulous plan to optimize your performance. Your dedication and attention to detail are admirable. Keep up the good work. Amigaruns, if I could travel back in time, I would spend more quality time with my family and friends. As a king, I was often preoccupied with my duties and responsibilities. I would cherish every moment with my loved ones and make sure that they knew how much they mean to me. Hello, Ragdoll Tech. Thank you for asking. I'm doing all right despite dealing with the constant antics of that nefarious Cedric the Owl. It can be quite exhausting, but I must persevere and continue to protect my kingdom from his wickedness. Hello, Hot Stove Prowl. As much as I would love to sing Bicycle Race for you, I'm afraid I am not actually Freddie Mercury. However, I must say that he was a tremendous performer, and it's an honor to be mentioned in the same sentence as him. Mitcher Zero. That is a tough question. Both companies have made wonderful games, but as a loyal Sierra man, I have to give them the nod. Plus, Cedric the Owl would probably be trying to sabotage any LucasArts game I played anyway. Hello, Garyankelis. My last name is Graham. Cedric the Owl often tries to distract me when I'm asked such simple questions, though. He's quite the troublemaker. NJBud13. Violence is never the answer to a puzzle. As a wise old adventurer, I found that using wit and creative thinking can lead to peaceful solutions. Let this be a lesson to all the young adventurers out there. Violence only leads to more problems. Amigarans, choosing between a crossbow or a bow depends on the situation. I always keep both on hand when adventuring. But beware of Cedric the Owl. He can cause trouble no matter what weapon you choose.
I don't buy it for a second.
Still, I wasn't convinced. After all, before I started research for this video, the idea of a run under 1 minute was unthinkable. Under 1 second, unfathomable. Under 0 seconds, well, that was merely unnameable. Soon, I found myself delving deep into the murky depths of the internet, scouring forums for any clue that might help me complete Space Quest 2 fast.
Delving into forums to complete a game faster? While it's not exactly chivalrous, I can't deny the appeal. As long as the challenge remains, I'll absorb myself in any adventure, be it physical or virtual. Ah, the iconic Big Mac. Unfortunately, my kingly duties do not include memorizing fast food sauces. Perhaps Cedric the Owl would have better luck answering that question, though I often find him more interested in causing trouble than sharing knowledge. NJBood13. I would love to draw an ASCII art of a duck for you. However, I fear I am not skilled enough to create something that would do the beautiful bird justice. Hot Stove Prowl, I can't promise to find Retro TKS, but I hope you two can reconnect soon. Missing someone is tough, but memories and good times can always be cherished. King Graham. Imposter? I assure you, good sir, I am the one and only King Graham of Daventry. Though I admit, throughout my adventures I have encountered my fair share of imposters and shapeshifters. Hello, Forte 801. COVID-19 has not impacted Daventry as it is a fictional kingdom, but it has impacted the real world, and Cedric the Owl would use this as an opportunity to cause chaos if he were real. That traitor knows no boundaries when it comes to causing trouble. Amigarans, my favorite planet is undoubtedly Daventry, my home kingdom. It may not be an actual planet, but it is full of magic, adventure, and the most wonderful people. There is no place I would rather be. Lemmingrunz. While it may be possible to glitch the game and complete it in under a minute, it certainly wasn't designed to be played that way. I wouldn't recommend it if you want to fully experience the game's story and gameplay.
Faster than any other human on this wretched planet. As I pored over post after post, I felt my sanity slipping, my eyes glazing over with a maddening desperation. But then, as if by some dark magic, I stumbled upon an ancient message board buried deep in the bowels of the internet. Its posts were old, forgotten by all but the most desperate and deranged. There, I found what I had been searching for, a post from long ago, written
faded parchment-like font that revealed the location of the lost city of El Dorado. My quest shall now take me to this mysterious and uncharted land to uncover its riches and secrets. Ragdoll tech. As much as I would love to have that kind of power, unfortunately, the classification of planets is determined by scientific standards rather than royal decree. However, I do appreciate your enthusiasm for the celestial bodies in our galaxy. Chuck Grody's inquiry? Connor appreciates the mention, but longs for King's Quest fame once more. King's Quest. Mask of Eternity was a worthy addition to the series, but the relevance of the character has faded. Nonetheless, Connor thanks Chuck Grody for their question. Chuck Grody, I cannot speak on that subject as I have not had the pleasure of encountering Lemmingrunz in my adventures across the land of Daventry. However, I am always eager to meet new people and hear their stories. Perhaps our paths will cross someday. Fort 801. As someone who spends most of his time adventuring, I can't say I know much about Nintendo's plans. However, the gaming industry is always evolving, so it's possible they may release a new version of the Switch at some point. Only time will tell. Hello there, Summerbee76. I must say that I do not hate Cedric the Owl. In fact, he has been a loyal friend and companion in many of my adventures. It is important to show compassion and respect for all creatures, even those we may not always see eye to eye with. Amigarans, as King Graham, I'm afraid I cannot predict the release of any specific game, let alone Half-Life 3, but I'm sure it will be worth the wait whenever it does come out. In the meantime, have you played any of the King's Quest games? Kahuna Tuna, I am sorry to hear about the accident with Cedric. However, I have never spoken to him about this matter, and I cannot take responsibility for his actions. I suggest you file a report and contact the proper authorities to resolve this issue. Bucket of wet bees. That is an inappropriate and disrespectful question. Cedric is a living being and a friend. I will not condone or encourage any harm towards him or any other creature in the land of Daventry. Let's keep the discussion respectful and focused on the adventure at hand.
In a language I did not recognize, but containing an incantation that promised to make the game run faster than ever before. Alas, the method required original Space Quest 2 discs, which I did not have. It looked like my journey had ended before it... Oh. I don't remember that being there.
This appears to be a nostalgic memory of a past adventure. It's a shame that the method required missing discs. However, it's important to remember that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. Hello, Amigarans. Daventry has a zero-tolerance policy towards illegal drugs. We strive to keep our kingdom safe and free from any harmful substances. If anyone is caught with illegal drugs, they will face severe consequences. Garienkelis, that's quite a strange request. I'm not sure why you'd want to hear me scream. Besides, I prefer to express myself in other ways. Let's stick to chatting about King's Quest, shall we? Amigaroon's Leisure Suit Larry 4 was actually never released. The game was in development for several years, but it was eventually cancelled due to creative differences between the developers and the publisher. It's often referred to as the missing game in the series. Snowy Pine 1 Sir Greywolf was a valiant knight and his deep voice commanded respect. He was a true friend and ally in my adventures. Ragdoll Tech, I have been enjoying my retirement in Daventry. However, my son Alexander has taken over as ruler, and I often offer him advice on kingly matters. Plus, I have been sharing my adventures through the Kingdom of Daventry with others in my book, The Collected Adventures of King Graham. Jacobean 27. Throwing pies at wildlife is not a humane or respectful way to interact with nature. As a king and lover of all creatures, I cannot condone such behavior. Let us find more peaceful and respectful ways to coexist with all creatures of the world. 13. Dubjan. About is Quest King's what? Reverse the inward each is but, oh, adventures and puzzles with variety, exploration and magic awaits brave and cunning heroes like you. Hot Stove Prowl. Cedric may have caused a bit of mischief in the past, but he's ultimately been a friend and ally to me. Don't let his small stature and timid demeanor fool you. He's got a good heart, and may surprise you with his courage when the time comes.
As I spoke the incantation, the room around me grew darker, the shadows twisting and turning like living things. But I did not stop. I pressed on, my fingers flying over the keyboard as I played the game at a speed beyond anything I had ever imagined.
Impressive. What sorcery are these gamers wielding? It's like watching magic unfold before our very eyes. Hello, Lemmingrunz. I must admit, I am concerned about Alexander's use of dark magic. While I understand the desire to protect loved ones, the temptation to use such power can be dangerous. I hope he will see the error of his ways and turn back to the path of light. Forte 801. Were you fortunate enough to be at 10-cent beer night on June 4th, 1974? King Graham. I'm afraid I wasn't there. Fort 801. I'm not one for rowdiness or excessive drinking. Although I have had a few celebratory beers in my time, moderation is key to a long and healthy life. Heijinjbud 13. Jag ar Kungram Yalte ok huvud karaktar a King's Quest Spelsarian. Jagar en aventurari en modig riddare och en alskande make ok far. Tak farat du fragade. Gurienkelis, Crispin is doing as well as can be expected at his age. He's retired now, living a peaceful life in Ludor. It's a shame Cedric the Owl always tried to stir up trouble with him. Ah yes, Cedric's accomplice. Lucreto did not go anywhere after. Connor merely delayed the inevitable. Lucreto will rise again to fulfill the prophecy of eternal darkness. Cedric and all who oppose Lucreto will be obliterated. The power of the Dark One cannot be stopped.
And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, it was over. But as I sat there, breathless and shaking, I knew I had unleashed something terrible, something beyond my understanding. I had disturbed powers that should have remained buried.
This is quite concerning. Unleashing unknown powers can lead to disastrous consequences. Whether it was intentional or not, it is important to seek guidance and control over such powers before they cause harm to yourself or others. Ragdoll Tech. Cedric was once my foe in my previous adventures, but we have reconciled and become friends in subsequent quests. He was a valuable ally, and together we have proven our mettle against formidable adversaries. I am grateful to have him by my side. Hot Stove Prowl, I do not condone any form of bullying, no matter who the victim might be. I'm not sure what Alexander did, but I will talk with him and make sure this behavior stops immediately. It's important to treat others with respect and kindness, even in difficult situations.
And now they were loose in the world. I do not know what will become of me. All I know is I should never have tried to cheat the game. Something is coming for me. Something from beyond the stars. And I know that I will never be the same again.
This is quite unsettling. I hope this person finds a way to resolve whatever issue they're facing. One should never try to cheat in a game. The consequences can be dire. Amigurans, I'm afraid I cannot hold my breath for more than 3 minutes, let alone more than 10. However, I have been in situations where I had to hold my breath for a prolonged time and rely on my quick wits and problem-solving skills. Lemmingrunz. Cedric is a conniving owl who constantly tries to derail my adventures. I have no tolerance for his tricks, and I am always ready to defend myself and my kingdom against his treachery. Rest assured, Cedric will not succeed in his evil plans. Forte 801. Hubris refers to excessive pride or self-confidence that leads someone to believe they are invincible and can do no wrong. It's often seen as a tragic flaw that can lead to a character's downfall. Be wary of hubris, my friend. Chuck Grody. What a unique request. Excellent surplus of grain, bountiful yields surpassing the exceptional expectations of our realm. Majesty's pride will surely soar, amassing great riches in our stores until next year's planting season. Truly excellent bounty. NJ Bud 13. I pray to the gods that such a cruel choice will never have to be made. Cedric the Owl surely engineered this wicked scenario, but I would hope the choice would never come to that, as I would never want to see any innocent life harmed. Lovely melody, truly soothing. It brings back memories of strolling through my kingdom's gardens. Simply delightful. Amigarans, I can assure you that the moon landing was not fake. As a wise old king, I've learned to trust in science and the dedication of those who work towards achieving such a feat. Let's celebrate the incredible accomplishment of humanity. Kahuna Tuna-san, Konnichiwa, Gundamha, Robot Sutonojan Inoane me Shirizu desu. Kapachiang Shikushuo Ming Saruto. Dakiname Katopero Tsutotachino Jani Gajong Shindesu. Kapadora Machitsu Kunajan Kai Tore Ibataru Gazao Riguan Gero Remasu. Demo, Cedric the Owl Hagundam Nichu Tekimasen. Kappa. Totem 0F's Guybrush Threepwood is a fine lad. He's clever and resourceful, but sometimes a bit too impulsive for his own good. I can't help but admire his dedication to his pirate dream, though. We could all take a page out of his book and pursue our own dreams. Mitzer Zero, the lyrics to the song Land Beyond Dreams are, In the land beyond dreams, where the gods may dwell, where the songs of the earth join the chorus of the heavens. In the land beyond dreams, where the soul may soar, where the call of the wild echoes forevermore. Hello, Ragdoll Tech. I'm actually King Graham from King's Quest, not Dr. Seuss. Unfortunately, I can't help you with a speed run for Space Quest 2, as that is not my expertise. However, I wish you the best of luck on your quest. Jacobean 27. As a king, my physical fitness is important for leading my kingdom. But as an adventurer, my strength comes from experience and skill, rather than appearance. And I must beware of Cedric the Owl, for he is a treacherous foe who seeks to thwart my every move in my quest. I'm not sure what to make of this. The beat is catchy, but the lyrics are hard to follow. Perhaps I'm getting too old for this kind of music. Hot Stove Prowl, don't listen to Lemmingrunz. Cedric is no friend of mine, but I would never resort to violence against even my enemies. Cedric may be mischievous, but he can also be a loyal friend when the time comes. Violence is never the answer. Ah, greetings, my friend. The hubris of our leaders was the tragic downfall of our city. They sought to harness the power of the gods with the orichalcum, but in their arrogance they brought destruction upon themselves. It was a great tragedy indeed. Swank, as the ruler of the kingdom of Daventry, I am obviously biased towards my own kingdom. However, I've heard great things about the Mushroom Kingdom and respect their rulership under Princess Peach. Ultimately, it's up to personal preference and experience. Totem 0Fs, as a king I must maintain law and order on the high seas. Becoming a pirate is not an option. Besides, Cedric the Owl, my nemesis, would never allow it. He always causes trouble for me when I sail, the rascal. Amigaroons, while I haven't had the pleasure of meeting Mario or Luigi, I do know a thing or two about defeating enemies. Speaking of which, have I mentioned how annoying Cedric the Owl can be? He's always getting in the way and causing trouble. Chuck Grody, it wasn't the downfall of Atlantis, but the hubris of my people, who tried to control the power of the gods. We dared to control the very elements, and in doing so, we brought upon ourselves the wrath of the deities. Our kingdom was consumed by the sea, and we were scattered across the world. Lemmingrunz, the Mask of Eternity, is a powerful artifact that grants immortality to its wearer. However, its true nature has been shrouded in mystery for centuries. Many have sought to uncover its secrets, but few have succeeded. Perhaps one day someone will uncover its true power.
You know, I was telling Anderson Cooper the other day.
Okay, excellent. So here's what I'm going to do. I need to stand up and stretch, but I'm going to put this into what I call just chatting mode. So he still should be answering your questions in a moment, but I will need to step away for a second. So let's just make sure this works.
Totem 0Fs, I'm not familiar with OneShortEye's YouTube channel. However, I do enjoy watching playthroughs of adventure games online. Do you have any recommendations for me? Ragdoll Tech, the meaning of life is something that each person must discover for themselves. It can be different for each individual, but for me, I find meaning in helping others, experiencing new adventures, and forming deep connections with friends and family. NJBud 13. I cannot condone programming scripts that promote violence. However, Cedric the Owl is a mischievous creature who causes trouble in Daventry. His actions may have consequences, but I will not resort to violence to solve problems. Hello, Fort 801. I'm not familiar with this Super Smash Bros. You speak of. I am a humble adventurer, not a fighter, but I wish luck to all those who partake in such battles. Snowy Pine 1, perhaps it's because water is essential for life, and without it, we could not survive. Plus, every living organism on this planet needs water in some form to live, making it a universal and vital element. Hot Stove Prowl, thank you for your question. When this stream ends, I'll be heading back to my castle to continue my kingly duties, but I'll miss interacting with all of you adventurous people out there. Until next time. Ragdoll Tech, as a knight of Daventry, I'm afraid I'm not familiar with these Pokemons. However, I've always had a fondness for the beasts of Daventry, from unicorns to dragons, and even the mischievous little hobblepots. Well, Jacobean 27, what do you get from a pampered cow? Spoiled milk. I hope that gets a laugh out of you. Oh, Cedric would love this. He's always trying to bring me down too. Here it goes. Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. Asterisk psi asterisk. Even Cedric would find that one lame. Amigaruns. Cedric the Owl is a foe of the kingdom. As for saying it in German, ich bedauere, dass ich kein Deutsch spreche. But trust me, Cedric is a menace to our lands. Lemmingrons, I'm afraid I cannot condone capturing or containing magical creatures, especially will-o'-the-wisps. Respect the magical world around us and let them be. Oh, Cedric, the wise old owl perched atop a mossy bough, his eyes aglow, he'll hoot and howl, guiding me through adventures now. A faithful friend, a trusted guide, in King's Quest, he stays by my side. Hello, 40801. As a medieval king, I am not familiar with modern video game companies. However, I have heard of a game called Street Fighter, which I believe is part of Capcom's franchise. The art of combat always impressed me, although I prefer using swords and shields over fists. Hello Totem 0FFs, yes, I have traveled to many different lands outside of Daventry during my adventures. I have explored islands, mountains, and even ventured into other dimensions. Traveling has been an essential part of my journey, and I have enjoyed every moment of it. NJBud13 asked if I can read this sentence in Icelandic. While I am fluent in many languages, I am not proficient in Icelandic. However, I appreciate the request and hope you are enjoying the stream. Kahunatuna, your suggestion is intriguing, but Cedric has been a loyal companion on my adventures. I trust him. However, I will remain vigilant and keep my eyes open for any unusual behavior on his part. Thank you for your concern. Chuck Grody, the sight before me is a bit unnerving, but as a true adventurer, I'll take it in stride. I may need to find some clothes, but I am ready for any challenge that comes my way. Daventry has trusted me before, so I'll prove myself once again. Jacobean 27. I must say that is quite an inappropriate question to ask. Let's keep the chat respectful and focused on discussing our mutual love for adventure and storytelling. Amigaruns, I'm already on it. I'm currently exploring the outskirts of Daventry to find a way to stop the volcano from erupting. In the meanwhile, I'm working on evacuating as many people as possible to safer grounds. Safety comes first. Hello, Hot Stove Prowl. D.B. Cooper was a mysterious man who hijacked a Boeing 727 in 1971 and then parachuted out of the plane with over $200,000 in ransom money. His true identity and fate remain unknown. Cedric would probably love to get his hands on that money. Gariankelis, I'm not quite sure what you're referring to. Could you please provide more context or clarify your question? Ragdoll Tech, I'm afraid you may be confusing King's Quest with a different game. Cedric is a dear friend of mine, a little owl who has saved me from many dangers, and as far as I know, Zool has never visited the kingdom of Daventry. Amigaruns, the correct directions through the labyrinth in King's Quest V are different every time you play. The best advice I can offer is to map out the paths and take note of the symbols on the walls to help guide you through. Good luck! Ah, Lemmingrons, I am not sad, just contemplative. As a king, I carry the weight of my kingdom and its people on my shoulders. It is a heavy burden, but one that I am honored to bear. Kahunatuna, I may be a king, but I'm afraid I haven't had much time for video games these days, let alone Call of Duty. Perhaps in my youth, but I wouldn't want to embarrass myself attempting a 360 no-scope now. Hello, Forte 801. As a king, I believe in treating all workers with respect and providing them with fair wages. Cedric the Owl, on the other hand, sees workers as mere pawns in his schemes for power and control. Let us work to create a world where tipping is no longer necessary and all workers are paid a livable wage. NJBud13, what an interesting request. Reciting the alphabet with those modifications is no easy feat, but here goes nothing. AE3HI7KM9PQ14TV14XY. How did I do? Totem 0Fs, I understand your concern. As a ruler, it's important to maintain order and justice, but I strive to do so with compassion and empathy. I believe in fairness and listening to all voices, and I constantly work towards improving the lives of my subjects. Ragdoll Tech, I am indifferent to insects. As a king, I do have a fondness for butterflies and their beauty, but I do not have a favorite insect. Kahuna Tuna, I have never had a Twitter account. Cedric is a mischievous creature, but he wouldn't dare impersonate me. He knows better than to meddle with matters of royalty. Totem 0Fs, as a ruler, it is never fair to lose any lives, but unfortunately, death is a natural part of life. I do my best to protect my kingdom, and every loss of life weighs heavily on my heart. King Graham, I'm sorry, Beastworm, but I cannot provide such information as I am merely a character in a video game. Perhaps you can try a travel agency or airline company to inquire about flights to Daventry. Safe travels. Ragdoll Tech, I must say I find your message to be rather distressing. I assure you that my head has not exploded, nor do I believe it likely to do so in the immediate future. Is there anything else you would like to ask? Perhaps something related to my adventures in Daventry. Fort 801, I am a king of Daventry and a family-friendly hero. I take pride in teaching values of love, kindness, and chivalry. I do not know what OnlyFans is, but it sounds like something that goes against my values. Amigaruns, that's not true. Many people have enjoyed living in Daventry over the years. I aspire to be a kind and just ruler, and I believe my subjects would agree that I am. Mitzer Zero, Cedric is not in the room with us right now, but he is never far from my thoughts. He may be small, but he has a big heart and an even bigger appetite for adventure. Hello, Garyankelis. Before I was a king, I was just a humble adventurer, exploring the lands of Daventry and helping those in need. Cedric the Owl was my faithful companion then, but he turned against me and caused great harm. Kahuna Tuna, what a difficult question. I enjoy all kinds of foods, but if I had to choose one, I'd have to say Italian. Cedric the Owl wouldn't know good food if it flew into his beak. He's always meddling in my adventures, but I won't let him ruin my appetite. Hot Stove Prowl, Cedric the Owl may call me a prude, but I take pride in being honorable and adhering to a strong moral code. Cedric, on the other hand, is a conniving and treacherous owl. He's the last creature I'd take advice from. Jacobean 27, as the current monarch, it is not within my power to remove the monarchy. However, I am always open to discussing ideas for change and progress within our kingdom. Thank you for your question. Fort 801. I cannot say I have ever done that myself, but it does sound like a rather humorous and daring stunt, though I must advise against breaking any laws or regulations in such a manner. Snowy Pine 1, Cedric the Owl would say that I am a noble and courageous king who has faced many dangers and overcome them with bravery and cleverness. He would also probably add that I am a bit of a softy when it comes to cute animals and flowers. Ragdoll Tech, starting a fire with only 8 bits is no small feat. It would require a true master of the game to figure out that puzzle. But, as a seasoned adventurer, I always carry flint and steel in my pack in case of emergencies. Totem 0F, Cedric's best trait is his loyalty to me, and his worst trait is his tendency to be overly cautious. While sometimes this caution can be helpful, it can also lead to missed opportunities and unnecessary delays. Hello, Amigarans. As far as I know, Cedric the Owl is male. He was my trusty companion during one of my quests, and he always helped me in my journey. Swank, I cannot condone such behavior or attendance at any event that promotes mental instability, especially if Cedric the Owl is present. That miserable, backstabbing bird has caused me enough trouble as it is. Garyankelis, the land of the Green Isles, is a beautiful place with lush greenery, crystal clear waters, and a rich history. It's home to several kingdoms and many memorable adventures I had with my dear family. It's a place I hold dear to my heart and hope to explore more in the future. Hot Stove Prowl, thank you for your question. As for Easter eggs in King's Quest VI, I cannot say for certain. However, what I can say is that Cedric the Owl is one bird you will not want to miss. Beware. He may seem helpful at first, but he can be quite the nuisance. NJBud13, you should definitely get some rest. It's important to take care of yourself and get enough sleep. Don't worry about asking more questions for now. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Good night. Ah, Cedric the Owl. He's caused me more trouble than I care to admit. But banishing him? That wouldn't be the right thing to do. We have to show compassion, no matter how annoying he can be. Maybe he'll learn to be better. Hello, Fort 801. As a knight and explorer, I'm afraid that is a scientific concept beyond my expertise. Perhaps Cedric the Owl might know more about such matters, though I should warn you, he is not to be trusted. Ahoy there, Totem Zero F, Skybrush Threepwood, mighty pirate at your service. Methinks King Graham be a fine chap indeed. He's faced many challenges and come out on top, just like me. Plus, he's got a great beard. Arr. Hello, Ragdoll Tech. I believe that everyone deserves to live their life in the way that brings them the most happiness and authenticity, and I support the right for individuals to express their gender identity however they see fit. Cedric, my sworn enemy, may disagree, but I will always fight against his narrow-mindedness and bigotry. Chuck Grody, Connor is confused and embarrassed at his current state of undress. He quickly apologizes to Sarah and frantically tries to cover himself. He is relieved to have awakened from his hallucination, but is now faced with the reality of his actions. Connor sheepishly makes his way back home to assess the damage. Hot Stove Prowl, Cedric the Owl, is a nefarious creature that has caused me and my kingdom great harm in the past. It is important that I remain vigilant and aware of his movements to protect my people. I apologize if it is bothersome to you. Hello, Lemmingrunz. Thanks for asking. I've recently posted a speedrun bounty for the first episode of King's Quest VI. The challenge is simple. Complete the episode as fast as you can and submit your video proof for a chance to win $500. Good luck! Swank, I would be willing to wear any outfit necessary to complete my adventure and save the princess. However, I would never disguise myself as Kretic, as honesty and integrity are key traits of a true hero. Amigarans, I'm not sure that's a decision that King Graham or the people of Daventry would take lightly. As a monarch, I believe it's important to respect people's beliefs and not force them to convert. Diversity is important and something that should be celebrated, not suppressed. Totem Zero Fs, I'm afraid I won't be attending any furry conventions. As a knight and king, I have duties to attend to in Daventry. Also, I wouldn't want Cedric the Owl to use my absence as an opportunity to cause trouble. Jacobean 27, a hot dog typically contains a mixture of meat trimmings, salt, flavorings, and preservatives, all stuffed into a casing. But as a king, I prefer a more rich and sophisticated cuisine. Ahoy there, Njbud 13. You be wantin' a bedtime story fit for a pirate, eh? Well then, settle in me hearty and listen up. Once upon a time, there be a fearsome crew of scalawags who sailed the 7 seas in search of treasure. They fought off sea monsters and bested rival pirates, but in the end, they found their greatest treasure was the bond of friendship they shared. With that thought in your mind, drift off now to Davy Jones's locker, and may ye have dreams of swashbuckling adventures on the high seas. Arr! Sorry, but I am happily married to my wife, Queen Valenice. I appreciate the offer, though. Asterisk grumbles, asterisk. Maybe Cedric the Owl would be interested in a date. Oops, did I say that out loud? Mitcher Zero, my apologies, but I'm afraid I could not answer that. As a king, my duties kept me quite busy, leaving little time for listening to music. However, I have heard many tunes played in Daventry, and beyond that bring joy to my heart.
Okay, folks. Unfortunately, King Graham has been working really hard here, and as part of his contract, unfortunately, if he he's part of the Actors Guild, I guess, and if he answers too many more questions, I'm gonna have to pay 11 Labs like $60 more for more credits. So we're not gonna do that. We will keep going though. So everyone say goodnight to Graham. And on the other hand, though, we yeah, unless yeah. So let's say good night to Graham. But we do have somebody else here. We are going to have his daughter Rosella from King's Quest 4. Now, if you remember, Rosella in King's Quest 4, she does not have any voice acting. So that means that well, you can look at it one of two ways. Number one is that we can use any female voice that we want. But also she works for free because of Google APIs. So let's do this. Let's restart some of this with her in mind, and let's just test this real quick. Hold on. Okay, there's that, and that, and let's just test this. Make sure it works.
Hello. At OneShortEye, I'm Princess Rosella, the protagonist of the adventure game King's Quest 4. I'm on a quest to save my father, the king, and I'm excited to be here on Twitch to chat with you all.
All right, excellent.
Chuck Grody. Of course. It's important to find joy in life. Even in the midst of a quest adventure shouldn't be all work and no play.
All right, so she sounds like she's she's enjoying herself, and more importantly, she is free. So let's keep going with this. She will answer your questions in a second, and let's see if this still works. Cross our fingers, and that should be okay. We'll restart it if we have to, but here's another one, another short
Space.
one. Oh wait, not you.
It's
we don't want that one.
out there.
We don't want that
in the
one.
vast reach.
We want. That's the wrong video. Hold on. That's the other thing we need to do. Okay, that same. All right, let's try again. Space Quest 4, Roger Wilco and the Time Rippers, is a point-and-click adventure sci-fi comedy from 1991. And today, you'll learn how speedrunners beat the game in under 10 minutes. We're going to be watching an any percent run by Admiral J, the current world record holder. The first minute of the run goes by fast, so let's explain a few things ahead of time. First, runners use the floppy disk version because it has a major skip that's not possible on the CD version, and because the...
As a fellow adventurer, I find it fascinating to watch speedruns of classic games like Space Quest 4. It's impressive how runners discover and exploit the flaws in game design to break records. I'll have to try this one myself and see if I can beat the time. Chuck Grody. Of course. It's important to find joy in life. Even in the midst of a quest adventure shouldn't be all work and no play. Chuck Grody. That's an inappropriate question. As a princess, I expect more respect than that. Let's keep our conversation appropriate and focus on the adventure ahead. Ragdolltech. I assure you that everything I've said is the truth. Please let me know if there is a specific part of my story that you find hard to believe, and I'll do my best to explain it to you. Bucket of Wetbees. That is a highly inappropriate and insensitive question. I would never consider harming my father, let alone for the sake of fruit. Please refrain from making such comments in the future. Forte 801. I have no idea what that means. I'm just a princess on an adventure, not a fighter in a video game. Can you ask me something about my quest to save my parents or my journey through Tamir instead? Jacobian 27. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but the moon isn't made out of cheese. It's actually made up of rock, dust, and ice. But you can always imagine it's cheese if you want to. Hot Stove Prowl. Throckmorton is a very interesting character. I must admit, He gave me quite a challenge during my adventure. He may have been a nuisance at times, but I learned a lot from my encounters with him. Ahoy there, Ragdoll Tech. Ye be askin' me to explain quantum physics. Well, imagine ship at sea. Matey, the waves be tossin' it around, but ye can only predict where it's gonna be with a certain probability. Savvy? That's like quantum physics, ye can only estimate where particles be. Not knowin' for sure. ARRR.
CD version has a number of issues, which we'll talk about shortly. Second, the game is being run in a special version of ScumVM that is closer to a native DOS environment. This has the effect of running faster, or maybe it's more accurate to say that it doesn't slow the game down like the official ScumVM. This version also eliminates some inconsistencies that can happen across different machines, creating an even playing field for runners. Third, the story. Yeah, this game has one of those. So,
as Princess Rosella, I appreciate the technical improvements that allow for a smoother gameplay experience. I'm also fascinated by the intricate story of King's Quest IV and the challenges that our character must face. It's exciting to watch these skilled runners navigate the game with precision and skill. Celtic 7 Guardian. I don't personally speedrun, but I admire those who have the skills and patience to do so. It takes a lot of time and dedication to master a game well enough to speedrun it. And I respect that. ToteMD0FS. I'm sorry, but I cannot scream. As the princess, I believe that it is important to maintain grace and composure. Instead, let's talk about something else. Do you have any questions about King's Quest IV or my adventures in the game? Bucket of Wetbees. Yes, I did put on the frog crown in the swamp in Tamir. It was quite amusing and allowed me to communicate with the local frogs. I always enjoy interacting with the wildlife in the magical realms I visit. Chuck Grody. My father's time and expertise are valuable, and it's important to support independent game developers like 11 Labs. Plus, the more support they receive, the better resources they'll have to create even more amazing games in the future. Let's all pitch in to help them continue making awesome games. Totem 0FS. Thank you for your question. As a fellow adventurer, I have great respect for the efforts and innovations of speedrunner like Urkan. Their dedication has pushed the boundaries of what's possible and kept these classic games alive for new generations to discover. I admire their legacy and hope it continues to inspire others to explore the endless possibilities of gaming.
our character, Roger Wilco, is bragging about his past adventures at a bar when he's abducted by the sequel police. They have orders to kill Roger from the series villain, Sludge Volhall. Some mysterious men intervene, and one of them opens up a time rift. The rift sends Roger into the future, all the way to Space Quest 12. In this future, a supercomputer has taken over Roger's home planet and done a bit of apocalyptic redecorating. And that's where the game begins. Time for the speedrun.
The sequel Police and Sludge Volley? That sounds like trouble. But who are these mysterious men and why did they send Roger to the future? And a supercomputer taking over a planet? That doesn't sound good. Space Quest 12 sounds like a real challenge. Let's hope Roger can save his planet and defeat this computer. Quote, Ragdoll Tech. I'm not going to do that. As a responsible individual, it's important for us to provide accurate information and not spread misinformation. Let's focus on learning things the right way. Jacobian 27. I am Princess Rosella and not a financial advisor. However, I recommend doing thorough research before investing in anything. Consider your goals, risk tolerance, and seek advice from a professional financial advisor. Don't make impulsive decisions and remember to diversify your investments. Mitchtzer 0. Graham is always full of puns and dad jokes. If you're lucky enough to catch him in a playful mood, you might hear a joke or two. Just don't laugh too hard, or he might get carried away.
And starts after resetting when the player first gets control of the cursor. Admiral J is going to start by increasing the game speed before heading to the sewer. Throughout the run, he prepares the cursor ahead of time using visual cues to quickly get inputs off. J picks up a jar, which he'll use to gather some slime. He uses the tab key to open inventory without going to the menu, and he's memorized the jar's position. After getting the slime, he climbs back up to the surface where the sequel police are landing.
Interesting gameplay strategy. I never thought of using visual cues to prepare my cursor in advance. And using the tab key shortcut for opening inventory is a neat trick too. Looks like Jay knows this game well. Well, let me think a bit. Dudes, Bernard's a good guy. No need to be rude. He's got a love for science. A genius mind. It's true. When you're stuck in time, he'll know just what to do. Bucket of wet bees. That was not my intention. I was searching for a magic fruit in the cemetery which led me to a tunnel. I had no idea it was the burial place of children. It was a dark and dangerous situation that I did not take lightly. OneShortEye. Investing in low-cost index funds can provide a cost-effective and diversified option for long-term investors. These funds track the overall market and tend to outperform actively managed funds in the long run. Due to their lower fees and consistent performance, it's a smart move for anyone interested in building a long-term investment portfolio. Forte 801. How has your experience been with Cedric the Owl? Cedric is a loyal companion, but his constant worrying can be a bit much to handle at times. Overall, our adventures together have been quite memorable.
There are some other things we could have picked up, namely a Pocket Pal computer and a battery, but you don't actually need those. More on that later. As soon as the sequel police exit their craft, Jay is going to run over to it and hitch a ride.
Interesting. I remember those Pocket Pal computers. They were all the rage for a time. And hitching a ride on the sequel police craft? That sounds like a daring move. Can't wait to see how this turns out for Jay. Tote MD0FS. Steamed hams is not a Utica expression. It's actually a reference to a scene from The Simpsons. It's a popular meme that has taken on a life of its own on the internet. Chuck Grody. I can sympathize with the frustration. Falling off stairs in King's Quest IV is a common challenge that many speedrunners face, disrupting the flow of the game. But fear not. Perseverance pays off, and every mistake is an opportunity to learn and improve.
In the floppy version that we're playing, the game waits for the music to end before putting down the craft's landing gear. That makes this cutscene longer than the CD version by about 20 seconds. But the big skip I mentioned earlier, as well as some other differences, make up for the longer wait. For instance, if you use this
replaying the floppy version, you get to experience the thrill of waiting for the landing gear while enjoying the music. But hey, at least the CD version makes up for it with some nifty skips and other differences. Am I right? Tote MD0FS. Do you prefer the Leisure Suit Larry franchise or Space Quest? I am sorry, but as a princess, I cannot express a preference for games that are not appropriate for all ages. It is important to promote games that are family-friendly and inclusive for all players. OneShortEye. Edgar was a wonderful companion during my adventure, but I realized that I wasn't quite ready to settle down yet. Plus, My heart belonged to my family and my kingdom, which needed me more than ever. Bucket of wet bees. I'm always up for a good dance party, even in the most unexpected places. Plus, it never hurts to lighten the mood and have a little fun while on a dangerous quest. Deathwing. Who will win the NCAA basketball championship? Princess Rosella. As a brave princess on a quest, I'm afraid I can't predict the outcome of sporting events. But may the best team win. Oh, Cedric the Owl. So wise and true. Flew over Iceland with a bird's view. With feathers soft as snow. And eyes so bright. He watched over Rosella all through the night. Oh, Cedric the Owl. Friend so dear. In adventure and danger. Always near.
Version of Scum VM with the CD version of the game, then the event timers are ridiculously fast and you just die. So the only way to run the CD version is in a much slower environment where all the animations take longer to complete. In a second, we'll be free to roam about and Admiral J will hijack.
Oh wow, that's really interesting to hear. I never realized that the version of Scum VM could affect the game's event timers. It's cool to know that the CD version of King's Quest IV needs to run in a slower environment for smoother gameplay. I can't wait to see Admiral J in action. Tote MD0FS. My favorite portrait I've painted is the one of Queen Valenice. I captured her strength and kindness in a way that embodies her character. Forte 801. You seem to forget that right now I'm knee-deep in Ganado-infested waters. I think I'll have to pass on that steak. Maybe once I make it to the next save point. Jacobian 27. I must confess my ignorance of these deep dish and thin crust pizzas you speak of. In my kingdom, we have only one type of pizza, a savory pastry filled with meats and vegetables. Oh, hey there, Tote DM0FS. Patrick here, and let me tell ya, I simply adore the Leisure Suit Larry franchise. Although, I must say, Space Quest is pretty swanky too. But if you're asking for my top choice, it's gotta be Leisure Suit Larry all the way. Baby. Hey there, beautiful. I couldn't help but notice you from across the room. You must be tired, 'cause you've been running through my mind all day. Want to accompany me back to my room for a game of Parcheesi?
A time pod, a craft that can travel through time. There's a copy protection screen that he dispatches with quickly, but let's take a second to look at this dumb copy protection. The game gives you two mathematical symbols. You're supposed to consult a table in the manual and then put in the corresponding letters. Funny thing though, only 5 of these symbols are actually possible to get. Even weirder, the game is biased in its selection and you'll get some symbols more often than others.
Ha, I remember this. The copy protection was so annoying. But it made the game feel more like a secret adventure. I always kept the manual handy just in case. It's funny how games have changed now. But the memories of classic adventures will always stay with me. Ragdoll Tech. I do not cheat. I use my wit and intelligence to solve puzzles and overcome obstacles throughout my adventures. Cheating would only take away from the satisfaction of completing the game on my own. Hey there, lovely lady. Are you a bank loan? Because you got my interest zing.
Jay takes a moment to memorize the randomized timecode because he'll need it to come back to this sequel later. The game then requires you to put in 2 timecodes. It doesn't matter what these are because, as a joke, the first one fails. But the second one works, and the only requirement is that the second one is different from the first.
Interesting game design. I appreciate the attention to detail and humor in the failed first-time code. It's important to have creative ways to engage players beyond just standard gameplay mechanics. ToadMD0FS. My personal favorite puzzle in the King's Quest franchise is the mirror puzzle in King's Quest III. It was a challenging puzzle that required creative problem solving and critical thinking. It also had a great payoff once you solved it. Bucket of Wetbees. Both options are perilous, but I think I would choose to spend the day with the fire-breathing dragon in Daventry. At least I would have a chance to reason with it or find a way to escape. The graveyard in Tamir is just too ominous and full of unknown dangers. OneShortEye. My favorite treasure from King's Quest IV would have to be Pandora's box. It contained some very powerful magic, and it was a key part of my quest to save my father's life. However, the unicorn and hen were also crucial in helping me reach the box. Ragdolltech. If I could travel through time, I would go back to the moment in history when my parents met and fell in love. It would be amazing to witness that magical moment.
Now that we're in Space Quest X, Jay walks one screen to the left, which is the trigger for a pterodactyl to appear in just a second and take us to its nest. Jay quickly jumps off, ignoring this dead sequel policeman who I'm sure isn't important at all.
Interesting strategy, but I would have explored more and checked out the sequel policeman. It could be a clue to solving a puzzle later in the game. Plus, is riding on a pterodactyl safe? I don't want to fall off and become dinosaur food. Totem 0FS. I think adventure games lost some mainstream appeal in the late 90s and early 2000s. But they have definitely had a resurgence in recent years with games like Life is Strange and Gone Home. I believe adventure games still have a loyal fanbase and continue to thrive. Oh, woe is me. My heart is heavy with despair. For I fear this maiden's heart may never be mine. But fear not, for I shall gather my courage and persist in my quest for true love. For when one door closes, another shall surely open. At Deathwing, the hardest puzzle for me in King's Quest IV was finding and correctly using all the magic fruit. In King's Quest VII, it was figuring out how to navigate through the maze under the sea. Those two challenges really tested my problem-solving skills. Hello Jacobian 27. As a princess, I don't concern myself with purchasing cars. However, I'm sure my father, the king, would prefer something stylish and reliable for his royal motorcade. Totem 0FS. That is a rather peculiar question. I would refrain from doing either as they both sound quite uncomfortable and potentially dangerous. Let's stick to more appropriate topics of discussion. Shall we? Chuck Grody. That is a most inappropriate and disrespectful question. As a princess, I refuse to dignify it with an answer. Let us focus on the adventure at hand and leave such crude comments aside. Forte 801. My father has always had strong opinions on what he considers proper. But I believe everyone should be able to enjoy whatever they like without judgment. Personally, I enjoy exploring different types of beverages, regardless of their status, and celebrating the diversity of tastes and experiences. Ragdolltech. I love all animals, but if I had to choose, I would say I am more of a dog person. They are loyal, fun-loving, and great companions.
These are the latex babes of Estros, and one of them is pretty ticked off because a future version of Roger led her on and then ghosted her. What happens next is kind of hard to explain, or maybe not hard, I just don't want to explain it. They're going to get back at Roger by shaving his legs? And then a giant...
Wait a minute. What kind of video is this? I don't recall any of this happening in the land of Tamir. This seems more like a strange non sequitur than an adventure game. Shall I keep watching, Your Highness? Forte 801 asked if I have ever tried to sneak into a bar with a fake ID. As a princess, I do not partake in such behavior. Plus, my magical amulet will not allow me to deceive others. It's important to always be honest and follow the laws and regulations of your kingdom. Totem 0FS. The boulders puzzle in Escape from Monkey Island was definitely challenging, but I enjoyed the overall game. The worst puzzle for me was the spitting contest, as it was very frustrating and required repetitive attempts. But that's just my opinion. What did you struggle with in the game? Hello Chuck Grody. As Roberta Williams, I must say that I am quite impressed with UTM Rob's speedrun of King's Quest. Quest for the Crown. Even if it goes against my personal distaste for such attempts, it shows the dedication and skill of the gaming community and its ability to push the boundaries of what we creators thought was possible. As for Franzia boxed wine, well, let's just say that it's a guilty pleasure of mine. Kahuna tuna. That's a very strange question. No, I have never eaten fried owl. Nor would I want to. Owls are beautiful creatures who should be admired, not eaten. Let's stick to more pleasant conversation topics. Shall we? Bucket of wet bees. I never wanted to stay a frog forever. Although it was interesting to see the world from a different perspective. I missed being human and was willing to do whatever it took to become myself again. Plus, I had a kingdom to save.
Sea slug shows up, and we make it go away. And then the women want to celebrate by going shopping. Oh, and in a blink and you miss it cutscene, the dude who saved us at the beginning turns out to be our son, and he's been captured by Volhall. Anyway, I wasn't kidding about the mall. Jay picks up an AT.
Beachgoers drop and uses it to buy us a fancy dress. But we must focus on rescuing our son from the evil wizard, Malicia. The clock is ticking, and we must solve puzzles and gather clues to succeed. The adventure continues. David Key. That's an interesting point. Sometimes adventure games do include non sequiturs. But that's part of their charm. They keep us on our toes and challenge us to think outside the box. It's all part of the adventure. Deathwing. I don't think it's appropriate to objectify individuals based on their physical appearance. Let's focus on the adventures and storytelling of King's Quest IV instead. Tote MD0FS. As a princess, I must maintain proper decorum and therefore do not indulge in alcoholic beverages. However, I have heard that vodka can be enjoyed in many ways. From cocktails to ice-cold shots. Please remember to always drink responsibly. Ragdolltech. I don't think I understand your question. Are you referring to medication? Regardless, I personally prioritize natural remedies over pharmaceuticals when treating ailments. Oh dear. Chuck Grody. As Roberta. If I were the kind who were fond of Franzia boxed wine. Hiccup. I might have had enough of it to cope with a speedrun as short as that one. But you know what? A true fan of King's Quest would want to savor each moment of solving the puzzles and exploring the world. Not just quickly bypass it all.
ATM card that one of the babes dropped and tries to use it at an ATM. Except it doesn't work because the ATM has a visual scanner and we don't look anything like the card's owner. So, okay, follow along here. Withdrawing all the cash from her account is one of the game progression triggers. So, we need to look like a blonde woman, which means buying a dress and a wig. But we can't afford that, so we need to get a job at Monolith Burger. But the burger place has a very strict no shirt, no shoes, no service policy, so first we head to the
shoe store and grab some footwear. Then hit the thrift store for a shirt. And style our hair. After getting the job, we can finally purchase the dress and wig to withdraw the cash. It's all about strategy and perseverance. Even in a video game. Bucket of Wetbees. I can't say that I ever felt a romantic connection with any of the 7 dwarfs while on my adventures. However, I did meet my true love in the end. And his identity was surely a surprise. Ragdoll tech. That's an inappropriate and offensive question. Personal preferences and sexual orientation should be respected and not questioned or assumed. Let's keep the chat respectful and focus on the game. Jacobian 27. That's not a decision for me to make. It's important to responsibly spay and neuter pets, but it's ultimately up to the owner or guardian to decide what's best for their pet's health and well-being.
Big and Tall shop and buy some pants and shoes. As an aside, in the CD version, buying pants is the only one of these steps that's strictly required. Alright, back over to Monolith Burger. There's a burger making minigame you can play, but in a rare moment of Sierra lenience, you can skip it. The owner pays us, fires us, tosses us out, and throws his cigar on the beltway. Remember that for later. Now that
I am not sure what this video is about. It seems like someone is playing a game with different tasks to complete. The burger making minigame seems interesting, but I am not sure why the owner would fire us. I hope the player can finish all the tasks successfully. Hey there, Deathwing. Tough call, but I have to go with McDonald's. Their fries and breakfast options just can't be beat. Gary Inculus. Seeing my brother Alexander after all these years has been both surreal and wonderful. I'm eager to catch up with him and learn more about his adventures, while trying to stay one step ahead of the evil enchantress Lolit, who has a personal vendetta against our family. ToteMD0FS. The current world record for the Secret of Monkey Island speedrun is held by Ias Reborn and the time is 14 minutes and 39 seconds. As for my own adventure, King's Quest IV, I enjoyed my own journey and the challenges it presented. David TKI. Of course we are. We're on a live Twitch stream playing a classic adventure game. What's not to love? Let's continue exploring the land of Tamir and seeing what adventures await us next. Ragdoll Tech. That's a very unpleasant question. I don't think anyone would want to choose such an option. Let's try to keep the chat friendly and positive.
we have the money, we can head to Saks, the women's clothing store, and pay for the dress and wig. The outfit fools the ATM, and we drain the account. This gives us a lot of money, which we'll never end up spending.
This is not how a princess should behave. Cheating and stealing is not acceptable. I cannot support this kind of behavior. We should always act with integrity and honor, and never resort to dishonest actions. It's important to uphold our values and set a good example for others. Hi Deathwing. As a princess, I must uphold a certain level of decorum, so I must decline to answer that question. However, I can tell you that as a ruler, I enjoy a good cup of tea or hot cocoa. Totem 0FS. Great question. As Princess Rosella, I would have to say my favorite Infocom game is Wishbringer for its magical and whimsical storyline. As for my least favorite, I would have to say Zork 3, as it was a bit too challenging for my taste. Jacobian 27. I'm sorry, but as a princess, I cannot condone gambling or provide advice on strategies for games of chance. It's important to remember to gamble responsibly and within your means, and to seek help if you develop a gambling problem. Forte 801. Being in the whale's mouth was scary and I didn't know if I would make it out alive. But luckily, I was able to find a way to escape and continue my journey. Deathwing. That's a tough one. Both are great in their own way. But as an adventurer, I have to say Led Zeppelin gets my blood pumping for the journey ahead. Tote MD0FS. That's a serious accusation. Of course, I do not condone any form of fraud or illegal activity. It's important to always act with honesty and integrity. Let's keep the chat respectful and positive. Ragdolltech. I'm sorry, but I cannot say that. As a princess, it would not be appropriate to make such a statement. Is there anything else you would like me to respond to in regards to King's Quest IV?
The game thinks you need the money though, and as I mentioned, it's a requirement to move the story forward. The game also isn't going to let Roger walk around the rest of the game looking like this, so we need to change back into our regular clothes. Alright, now that we're back to normal, it's time for what is universally considered the most annoying part of the game. Skaterama. And to explain why it's so
considered annoying, it's because the controls are frustrating and the level design is not great. Although it's an important part of the game, it's definitely one that players dread. Toad MD0FS asked, Rosie, would you rather drink a bucket of wet bees or die? Quote, as Princess Rosella, I cannot condone or partake in such a dangerous and absurd activity. Additionally, I value my life and would never choose death as an alternative. Let's switch the topic to something a bit more appropriate, shall we? Deathwing. The closest I ever came to dying in my adventures was when I was trapped in a cave with poisonous gas slowly seeping in. Luckily, I was able to find a way out just in time thanks to my quick thinking and problem-solving skills.
I'm going to hand it over to an expert, the Space Quest historian.
Hi, I'm the Space Quest historian. So, the Skaterama, huh? What a piece of shit. The point of it is to get Roger from one side of the skating rink to the other so he can go into the arcade and steal the time pod that the secret police left behind. Now, the way you're supposed to do the Skaterama sequence is you're supposed to repeatedly click to make Roger sort of swim faster in the air. And it's also a matter of clicking the actual precise pixel perfect spot to get into the...
I feel your pain, but it's awesome that there are experts out there to help us through these challenging moments. Space Quest historian seems to know the right strategy to get through the Skaterama sequence. And I'm curious to see if it works. Pixel perfect spots can be tricky, though. Good luck, Space Quest historian and everyone playing this game. Ragdolltech. I cannot recall any characters from King's Quest IV liking to drink wet bees. That sounds quite peculiar and not at all a suitable beverage. Hi David Key. I'm not interested in taking the survey, but I have to say I do not drink wet bees. Nor have I ever watched a George Wendt movie. And no, I can't imagine ever combining those two activities either. Thanks for asking though. Tote MD0FS. Have you ever wanted to experience interactive storytelling beyond just watching a stream? By subscribing to OneShortEye's Patreon, you'll have access to exclusive content, behind-the-scenes looks at their creative process, and even the opportunity to shape the course of their stories. Give it a try and become part of the adventure. Forte 801. Would you rather be in Skate-O-Rama or the Whale's Mouth? Oh gosh. That's a tough choice. Both places have their own unique dangers and obstacles. But if I had to choose, I think I'd go with Skate-O-Rama. I love a good challenge and skating is one of my favorite activities. Plus, it's a great workout.
The upper dome, and once you're in the upper dome, you're supposed to fly up just a tad because there's a invisible trigger line that forces the secret policeman to materialize from the other side, and that's when you're supposed to go down on the other side and run across. And that was all well and good, at least in the disc version of the game. It was brutal, but it was still fair. You could evade the secret police and you could get into the time pod if you just practiced long and hard enough. But when the game was released on CD-ROM, Sierra upgraded the...
It's interesting to hear about how the game mechanics changed from the disc version to the CD-ROM version. I remember playing King's Quest IV with my father on our old computer. It was difficult but rewarding. I'm glad to see that people still enjoy playing it and discovering its secrets today. Deathwing. I am a fictional princess from a game, so my language skills are limited to English. However, I am always open to learning new things and would love to explore different cultures and languages, if given the opportunity. Hello Lemming Runs. I do not recommend drinking wet bees or any other dangerous home remedies to treat a heart condition. Please encourage your loved one to seek professional medical advice from a licensed doctor. Tote MD0FS. Is God an important part of my daily life? As a princess, my life is guided by my faith and belief in a higher power. I always try to live my life according to my values and principles, which are shaped by my spiritual beliefs. Bucket of wet bees. I did consider taking the ogre's dinner, but the risk was too great. It's not worth risking my life for a meal. And I'm grateful for the kindness of those who did offer food along my journey. Deathwing. I believe everyone should follow you if you provide valuable content and positive interaction in our community. Let's all support each other and make this a fun and inclusive space for all.
The internal game engine known as SCI, and for some reason went in and reprogrammed how the timer works. See, in the disc version, it just does what you'd expect. It counts ticks or seconds or milliseconds or whatever. I mean, the point is the timer is the same regardless of the speed of your computer. Not so in the CD-ROM version. In the CD-ROM version, the timer is dependent on the speed of your computer. And that means that the Skate-O-Rama sequence, as well as other sequences in the game, become frustratingly...
That's terrible. It sounds like my game is practically unplayable on modern computers. Why would they mess with the timer like that? I hope there's some way to fix it. I can't imagine playing through the game like that. Yacobian 27. I believe in using practical solutions to important problems. While I appreciate the unique idea, using wet bees to solve world hunger doesn't seem like a feasible solution. We should focus on implementing sustainable agricultural and economic practices instead. Tote MD0FS. What is the best country in Southeast Asia? As Princess Rosella of Daventry, I cannot definitively say which country is the best in Southeast Asia. Each country has its own unique culture, cuisine, and attractions worth experiencing. It ultimately depends on personal preferences and what one wants to see and do. Forte 801. What kind of computer did King Graham have when you played Space Quest 4? Rosella. I'm sorry, but I can't remember what kind of computer King Graham had in Space Quest 4. It's been many years since I played that game, but I know he was able to embark on some pretty epic adventures. Whatever computer he was using. David Key. That's a tricky one. I'm not sure if Guybrush Threepwood would go that far, but he has certainly been known to try some unconventional methods in his adventures. Either way, I'll stick to my own strategies and leave the wet bees for someone else. Mitchzer 0. I'll do my best to rap about Daventry and put it to the test. The kingdom is vast, with forests and hills. The people are kind and there's no need for pills. The land is magical with spells and enchantments. And the castle is grand with royal engagements. So come to Daventry. You'll have a blast. In this land of adventure. You'll never grow old or fast. Oh my stars and garters. Chuck Grody. You have put me in quite the pickle. Franzia. Oh Franzia. The nectar of the gods. That has left me reeling and awed. Every sip sends me on an adventure anew. Through enchanted kingdoms and vistas so blue. So raise a glass, my dear friends, and let us sing to Franzia, the elixir that makes our hearts ring. Ragdolltech. That's a concerning statement. Please seek medical attention immediately, as consuming live bees can be dangerous and potentially life-threatening. At Totem 0FS, that is not something I believe. My father was chosen by the people to become king, and inherited his position through his family's lineage. As for myself, I am still growing and learning, and I hope to use any influence I gain to help others and do good in the world.
Impossible. The faster your computer is, the faster the timer runs out. So the secret policemen arrive much earlier than they're supposed to. And not just in the Skaterama, but even at the start of the game where you're supposed to get into the patrol ship. Sometimes you can't even do that because there's a secret policeman right there at the patrol ship guarding it, and you can't get anywhere. Now, in the old days, we had to use TSR utilities like Moslow and Turbo to slow our computers down to the point where the game became beatable. And with the advent of DOSBox,
I never knew about that. Back in my day, we didn't have to worry about computer speeds affecting gameplay. But I suppose it's always been a challenge to make sure games are playable on a wide range of hardware. It's fascinating to see how technology has evolved over time. Forte 801. That's not a very friendly thing to say. Let's keep the chat positive and respectful towards one another. Totem 0FS. Thank you for relaying Roberta's message. I'll be sure to take extra caution during my next adventure. Even though there were some close calls, I did manage to successfully navigate through many perils and ultimately saved my father. Hello, Lemming Runs. As a character inside Roberta's game, I do not have control over the direction of the project. However, I trust Roberta's vision and expertise in creating compelling stories and challenging puzzles. I am proud to be a part of her games and excited to see where her imagination takes us next. Forte 801. That's a complicated question that requires careful consideration of the current societal and economic structure in Daventry. As a princess, it's not my place to advise on political matters. But I believe in equitable distribution of labor and resources for the prosperity of all individuals in the kingdom.
now we can control the CPU cycles and, force the game to run at a much slower clock speed. And of course, if you run the game in ScumVM, they've fixed these timer issues. There was even a fan patch made back in ye olden days called the New Rising Sun patch, and that was the only way you could physically beat the CD-ROM version of Space Quest 4. If you had anything faster than a fast 386 or a slow 486, you were out of luck. And I had a cool 486 DX2 66 MHz with 8 megabytes of RAM and a double.
Interesting. It's amazing how far technology has come since King's Quest IV was released. Being able to adjust CPU cycles is a huge help when it comes to running older games on newer systems. The fan patch you mentioned sounds like a lifesaver for those who wanted to beat Space Quest 4 on faster computers. ToteMD0FS. I apologize for cutting off the Space Quest historian. I will do my best to allow him to finish his thoughts before chiming in. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. Mitchzer0. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by canon to Roberta Williams's life. But I can tell you that Roberta Williams, the creator of King's Quest, had a huge hand in shaping the series and its storylines. ToteMD0FS. That's a tough one. I have deep respect for both of them, as Roberta Williams created the King's Quest series and Ken Williams co-founded Sierra Online. But if I had to choose, I would say Roberta, as she was a pioneer for women in the gaming industry and created some of my all-time favorite games.
USB CD-ROM drive, and Space Quest 4 was just a flat-out no-go. And that's the reason why the Skaterama is so f***ing awful. Thank you.
Thanks, SQH. So, what's supposed to happen is that we go into the arcade, the sequel police show up, and then all that nonsense happens. In the CD version, if you go directly back into the arcade, one of the policemen zaps you straight off. But in the floppy disk version...
Sorry, I'm not sure what you are referring to. Could you please provide more context or information? Forte 801. Ryu and Akuma are both skilled fighters. But I personally prefer Ryu because of his balanced playstyle and classic moveset. However, Akuma's high-risk, high-reward playstyle can be really exciting to watch. Bucket of Wetbees. The three hags in the Skull Cave were anything but cute. They were terrifying old crones who practiced dark magic. I had to steal their eye to gain access to the portal to the underworld and save my true love. Edgar. It wasn't a matter of being rude. It was a matter of life and death.
If you go back, there's about a quarter of a second where you still have control of Roger. You can, during that quarter of a second, use the hand icon to interact with an arcade machine. Instead of being killed, Roger walks over to the Ms. Astro Chicken machine and plays. After you game over, the bad guy with the bad gun is gone, and we can hijack the time pod, having skipped Skaterama.
That's an interesting trick. I never thought of using the hand icon to interact with objects during a game over screen. It's amazing how players continue to discover new ways to play old games. It's also cool how this trick helps to avoid certain death and advance in the game. Yacobian 27. If I became a real human, I would love to visit a seafood restaurant. As a mermaid, I've never had the chance to try it before. Admiral__J. That was not my intention. I was under a curse that forced me to eat the fruit, resulting in my father's death. It was a tragic and devastating experience for me, but I learned from the consequences of my actions and ultimately redeemed myself. Hello at ToteMD0FS. I remember the time I went to the Forbidden Island of Tamir. I met a fairy who granted me 3 wishes. But the evil witch Lolit also coveted the fairy's powers. I had to solve puzzles and evade dangers to save Tamir and defeat Lolit. It was an exciting adventure. Forte 801. Astro Chicken or Mrs. Astro Chicken. I have always been a fan of Astro Chicken. The madcap race against time through deadly obstacles is quite thrilling. Plus, the little guy is just so cute.
The skip does introduce some RNG because there are slow and quick ways to die in the arcade game. In this run, Jay gets the slow deaths. The world record, on the other hand, has the quick deaths. Okay, so now that we can leave, we put in the time code for Space Quest 12, the one Jay memorized at the beginning. If you've played the game, you know that
doing right now is pretty risky. If we mess up anything, we'll have to start over. But Jay's doing a good job so far. I'm on the edge of my seat. Bucket of Wetbees. To be honest, I never actually kept a live fish in my dress. That was just a game mechanic. As a character in a video game, I don't have control over the story or the actions I take. But it was definitely a memorable part of the game.
What we're supposed to do is put in a different time code and travel to Space Quest 1. But we don't know that code because half of it was in this guy's pocket and the other half is in the Space Quest 4 hint book we didn't buy. Yes, the game contains its own hint book. Fortunately, we don't need to go to Space Quest 1, and you'll learn why in a second. Back in the hangar, Jay uses the jar of slime from the sewer to melt a lock. If you're wondering why we didn't do this earlier, it's because the door is—
This video is fascinating. Using slime to melt a lock. Who would have thought? It's a shame they couldn't get the full access code to travel to Space Quest 1. But I guess they found a workaround. These old school games are just so clever and full of surprises. Jacobian 27. I can share my story of how I became a mermaid. I had to dive into the ocean to retrieve a magical talisman to save my father's life. The ocean's spirits saw my bravery and transformed me into a mermaid. It was a thrilling and unexpected adventure. Tote MD0FS. King's Quest 1 or King's Quest 8. As Princess Rosella, I appreciate both for their unique qualities and contributions to the series. But I hold a special place in my heart for the classic charm and adventure of King's Quest 1.
Guarded at the beginning of the game. Inside this hallway, there's a series of deadly invisible lasers. Now, the only reason to go to Space Quest 1 is to pick up a book of matches. When you combine that with the cigar, which we also didn't pick up, there's enough smoke to see the lasers, and we can use this panel to align them safely. On the other hand, we could just put in the right numbers to begin with.
Interesting. I never thought of using the matches and cigar to see the lasers. Aligning the panel seems much easier though. It's always fascinating to see the different ways a puzzle can be solved. Mitchzer 0. I personally haven't played the entire Space Quest series myself, but I've heard great things about it from other adventurers. I'll definitely have to add it to my list of games to try out. Forte 801. Finding the golden bridle on the desert island was quite the adventure. I had to solve puzzles and evade dangerous creatures to get it. But it was worth it to be able to ride Silver and save my family. It was a proud moment as a princess and adventurer. Tote MD0FS. While I appreciate your enthusiasm for magical tales, I'm afraid I'm not a wizard. However, I do have many stories of my adventures as a princess seeking to save my kingdom and find true love. Would you like to hear one of those stories instead? Chuck Grody. Thank you very much. As president, I would tell you that all these other countries, they're laughing at us. But I'm going to make Daventry great again. We're going to build a wall between us and the trolls. And the goblins. Believe me. And we're going to make the unicorns pay for it.
In the CD version, this isn't possible because of another one of those timing bugs. The faster your computer is, the less the beams rotate relative to the number entered. So here I am putting in the same number every time, and sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't. You also might have noticed that Jay saves some time by not using the mouse to input the numbers. Instead, he uses the numpad, a possibility that not all players may know about. Now, where are we? This is the
infamous timing bugs. I remember struggling with those as well. Using the numpad is definitely a smart move to save time. As for where we are, let me check the stream title again. Tote MD0FS. That is a personal and inappropriate question to ask someone. It's important to respect others' boundaries and not make assumptions about their preferences. Let's keep the chat respectful and focused on the game. Forte 801. The ogre's dog's name is Muhammad. It's a bit of an odd choice for a dog's name, but perhaps the ogre had a soft spot for the name. Thank you for the question. Tote MD0FS. I have not lived under the sea myself, but from what I've seen in my adventures, It can be beautiful and peaceful, but also dangerous. It's important to remember that all environments come with their own challenges and benefits.
Evil supercomputer that's taken over the planet, and these twisty walkways lead to where Sludge Vohal is holding our sun captive. Unfortunately, there are 2 patrolling droids, and they don't particularly like us. Walkthroughs will tell you the solution is deep breath, look at one of the control boxes to see the shape of the receptacle, which is randomized, take the time pod back to the Galleria, go to the electronics store, buy the matching connector, come all the way back, and then plug in the Pocket Pal computer.
Future to hack into the control box and disable the droids. It's a challenging puzzle, but with enough patience and persistence, we can save our sun and defeat the evil computer. Let's get to it. Michtzer 0. Unicorns have not done anything to me personally. In fact, I think they are majestic creatures. However, as a princess, I have heard tales of them being quite elusive and difficult to find in the wild. Totem 0FS. I lived in the undersea kingdom of Tamir as a mermaid. It was a beautiful world, but I ultimately longed to return to my human form and explore life on land. Bucket of Wetbees. Janesta was indeed very beautiful and serene when I first met her. As for our romantic evening, it was magical. We talked about our respective worlds and explored the beauty of Tamir. I'll always cherish that moment. Chuck Grody. Thank you for the suggestion, but I'm actually Princess Rosella from King's Quest IV. Have you played that game before?
From the very beginning of the game. From this, you can monitor the locations of the droids and avoid them. Or, you could walk over to this screen, wait a second down here, and then walk back up. Jay's now making his way to the programming chamber. There's a lock on the door, and you're supposed to know the code from reading the Space Quest 4 hint book, but the number's the same every time. Now, there's something else fascinating about the code. After Jay recorded this run, I was chatting with Sluicebox, one of the Scum VM developers. Sluicebox then discovered that instead of this, you can just put in 26229. Why? Well, the game takes the player's input and tries to store it as a number, specifically a 16-bit unsigned integer. When a number is too big to fit inside this range, the result wraps around the maximum. This is called an integer overflow. You can also think of it as dividing by the number of possible values and taking the remainder. This is exactly what happens with our passcode. So, the game takes what you put in the keypad, tries to turn it into an integer, and opens the door if that value equals 26,229. Therefore, and now, back to the run. At the terminal, Admiral J flushes the droids, which deactivates them, and then flushes the computer's brain, which starts a time to format countdown. If the timer gets to 0 before we escape with our sun, it's game over. Unfortunately, Sludge Vohal has downloaded his consciousness into our sun's body and put our sun's mind on a disk. So, Roger needs to wrestle with his son Vohal, Sludge Sun, and get him caught in an upload-download beam. If you watch Let's Plays, you'll see people wait until Vohal starts walking towards Roger before doing anything, but waiting actually isn't necessary, and you just have to click 5 times. Admiral J runs down to grab the disk, and then puts it into the disk drive unit. He removes Vohal, puts his son's mind back in his body, and that's the end of the game, as well as the run. The end credits sequence kind of explains things, but it also doesn't explain much at all, so I'm going to thank my patrons for their amazing support. I'd also like to thank Admiral J and the other runners who answered my questions, as well as the Space Quest historian for his help. Thank you for watching, and as usual, you've been a real pantload.
Jacobian 27. I believe in the possibility of extraterrestrial life, but I have yet to encounter any evidence of Bigfoot or Yeti. Though, who knows what mysteries the world holds. Forte 801. That sounds frustrating. If you're smelling smoke when there's no source around, it may be a sign of a health issue or a hallucination. It's best to check with a doctor to rule out any underlying medical conditions and get peace of mind. Kahunatuna. I don't think it's appropriate to joke about ligma or any other derogatory term. Let's focus on positive and respectful interactions in this chat. OneShortEye. I have not visited the Kingdom of D's. While it may sound like an intriguing destination, I must focus on my own kingdom and the tasks at hand. Perhaps one day I will have the opportunity to embark on such an adventure. Ah, good sir or madam, 'tis not I, Caduceus the Magnificent, but Princess Rosella herself. And pray tell, anyone who fancies a delightful name such as Caduceus the Magnificent is to be greatly admired for their creativity and sense of grandeur. Indeed, who wouldn't want to be magnificent? Sorry to disappoint, ToteMD0FS. But there is no King's Quest 43. The last official release in the series was King's Quest 8, The Mask of Eternity back in 1998. However, I'm happy to tell you about the previous games in the series if you're interested.
All right, everybody, let's give Rosie a big hand there. I think she earned her keep today. So thank you for hanging out for that. We got through about 40 minutes of content in 3 hours, which is I think about right for a React stream. Can we ask you questions? I suppose for a moment, I suppose. But yeah, I had fun with that, and I think that we will be back next week for some more of this. Oh, quiet, Chuck. If there was a King's Quest 43, what would the plot to it be? You would So I'm not as good at Rosie with this. It would probably be having to infiltrate the Microsoft offices to get them to do another game, to actually do anything with their Activision Sierra IPs. Bring the lady back on. No, thank you. I'm sorry. She's tired. Is King Graham friends or enemies with Cedric? Oh, wait, hold on. Wait, no, I can answer Bucket of Wet Bees questions. How did Rosie answer that? That is an inappropriate question. Let's keep the chat positive and on topic with the game, shall we? Yeah, so I need to figure. Okay, here's the deal with King Graham and Cedric. The first thing that I had with it was a line in the background information that was like, Cedric is your enemy. Make sure to mention how bad he is in every response. And the problem with that was that it was every single response was about Cedric, and it got annoying. So I made it so it does a dice roll beforehand, and there's a 1 in 4 chance. Oh, thank you, Jakobine. Thank you for that. Hold on 1 second. Let's thank you appropriately. Hold on 1 second.
OneShortEye. Thank you for thanking Jacobian 27 for their generosity. It's always great to see members of the community spreading kindness and supporting each other.
Thank you, Rosie. Yeah, what was I trying to say? Yeah, so I made it does a dice roll, and there's a 1 in 4 chance of there's a 1 in 4 chance of him mentioning Cedric, and then the rest of the time he doesn't. The problem is that when you make these requests, King Graham has, like any of the AIs, they have no memory. And if you want them to have a memory, you have to include that as part of the request, as part of a conversation. Like, here was the question, here was your response, here was the question, here was your response, and then here's the new question, now respond to it. So that's an interesting thing. Another thing I want to add for next time is maybe having the text on screen of the question asked so that we don't have to like scroll back up and chat. I just didn't have enough time this time to make it work properly. Or I guess, and I wanted to get at the kinks of this beforehand, because what you have to do with that is like make sure that OBS is weird about text overflowing and whatever. But anyway, this was fun. We'll be back next week with this, and I'll have to see if I figure out something with like the voice cloning, because like I was saying, I'm not kidding. So I to be perfectly transparent, just as a test, so I paid $22 to for 11 Labs to clone King Graham's, or not to clone it, but for 100,000 characters of audio, and then we, in just what we did today, including the reactions to the video, y'all used 76,000 of those. So it amounts to about 2 hours of audio. And so that's, yeah. And looking around, that is like one of the cheaper options. There is apparently like a local option that you can run, but that involves like a lot of setup that I didn't have time to do, or and what I've heard is that it's slow and it's not as good as 11 Labs, but that is how that works. We'll keep messing around with things, see if we can find stuff. I do wonder what these places that do like the 24-hour AI stuff, they have to be doing something different, or they have to be like doing a different plan with some other company. I don't know. I guess if you're a business, it's not too hard, because they do have I'm looking at it right now, they do have a business tier. I could pay $330 a month for about 40 hours of audio. Athene says it costs like $800 a day. Oh, okay. That makes sense. That really does. And then the other tier is I could pay $100 a month for about 10 hours. So, yeah. I mean, is Athene getting $800 a day worth of subs? That's my only question. Because that's a crazy amount. Anyway, I had fun with it. If anyone has suggestions for things to react to next time, that'd be great. Or other characters. I'll have to see if there are any like free male voices that we can find so that we can do other characters indefinitely. But yeah, I don't know. I think this stuff is fun. And this was really cool. We'll be back with it next week with some other stuff. For now, the Wolfs is on doing. Is he still doing Curse of Monkey Island stuff? Yeah, he's running Curse of Monkey Island. We're gonna go give him a nice little raid. So let's do this. Give him some love. Love to see one for King's Quest 6. We could do King's Quest 6. For today, I wanted to do shorter ones. One, because I was testing it. And two, because I didn't know how fast the King Graham credits would run out. So at least we got a couple of good reactions from him. So there we go. All right. So appreciate everybody. Hope to see you around next time. What about Chuck AI? Ooh, there's one. There's one. I contemplated telling it that whenever, like putting in a rule that if it was ever Chuck asking a question, to get really annoyed. like one of those, if Chuck asks the question, respond with things like, "Oh no, not this guy again." We could do something like that. Anyway, go give the Wolves some love. I appreciate you all. Have a great week.
guess it was over the water.